This is episode 30 of That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, where we talk about anime and manga because sharing is caring. I'm your host, Isekai Sensei-Sama, aka Brad, and I'm joined in this weeb cabal by Bento Baggins, aka Ben,
Sashibori,
and Kermit D. Grog.
Ahoy, hoy.
If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the other series on our feed. We've got Heroin Addiction, where Ben and I read romance and drama manhwa, and then heavily dissect those webcomics for teen girls. Shonen Jumping the Gun, where Kermit and I read the first chapter of a manga to try and then tell you how we think Japanese teen boys will react to it. And Baka Banashi, where things may get a bit spicy. And make sure you're subscribed, as we're going to have another new series coming out in the next couple months. It's a secret. And we want to hear from you. You can talk to us on many different social media platforms, which you can find links for in the description and on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. And come hang out with us on Discord, listen to our Spotify playlist, and get episodes early, along with bonus episodes and other perks by supporting us on Patreon. And don't forget to rate the podcast and tell your friends. All right, well, before we jump into this very special episode, which everybody already knows from the title, we just got a couple news things to go over.
News.
As I mentioned on our last episode, but I'm reiterating here, we have gone to a 6-week schedule for the bigger episodes. So just in case you were wondering what was going on, why there's more stuff in between. The main series episodes will be 6 weeks. Heroin Addiction is 6 weeks. And then we're filling the rest of our time with all of our other series, which we've gone a little bit crazy with. But we're having fun, so we're going to keep doing it.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to touch on, Kermit's Shonen Jump panel is out on our YouTube channel. I wanted to specifically call that out because it's not on the podcast feed, so you have to go out to our YouTube channel and watch that. But personally, I think it's really good, even though I edit it, but I think the content is really good. So
yeah, if you want more information about some of the current state of Jump, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably a little bit more intertwined in that than most, but I think there's some good stuff in there. Some old Jump history I never knew until I started researching for it, so check it out.
There's also a fast take that we did for the Spy Family movie that's out there. So just generally speaking, subscribe to the YouTube channel because sometimes there's some content out there that doesn't make it onto the podcast feed. In addition to that, another YouTube specific thing, I wanted to put this at the beginning because I know a lot of people don't get to the very end and hear all the plugs and all that stuff, which is where I've mentioned this before. But if you are currently listening to this on YouTube and the version that you're listening to is just the podcast cover on a black background, you're listening to the low quality version. There is another version that comes out at the exact same time on YouTube that is the high quality stereo version. And that one's got like the waveform moving around and stuff like that. So I just want to call that out because most people are watching the feed version, which is like the lower quality version. And the YouTube one, it's right there next to it. So like, why not listen to the high quality one, right? It's in stereo,
Makes
like
sense
for real.
to me. You get to listen to it in Isekai Sensei-Sama POV.
I think of it more like I'm talking right to people.
Yeah,
and then you guys are on either side.
Left channel, right channel.
Yeah. All right, so that's everything for the housekeeping stuff. Just a few small things to mention for upcoming anime series that I wanted to cover real quick. So in July, there's only 2, but I felt that they were pretty important. And the first one that I'm going to mention, I think, is pretty special. Red Cat Ramen.
Yo! I've been reading Red Cat Ramen recently. I've started my Manga Plus Renaissance, and that was the first one I went to. Well, the second one I went to, but it's the first one I loved, so
I saw that on there. I was like, wow, that's getting an anime. Interesting.
It's got like 150 some chapters, so I am not caught up. But no, should be a really cozy, cute, slice of life cat time.
We'll have to check it out. The second one here that's coming out in July, you might know about if you are on our Discord, because I posted about this. Isekai Shikaku, which is a manga I talked about in the first Reviewstravaganza.
Wow, calling your shots.
And
true.
At the time was called Disqualified from Otherworldliness, is the English name. However, now that it's getting an actual anime release, the English title is No Longer Allowed in Another World, which is the same thing, but it's different words.
Better.
But mentioning that
approachable.
Specifically, because if anybody's searching it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I didn't find it on the anime news site. I had seen the trailer, and then when I was looking at the upcoming series, it wasn't there. And so I went and looked specifically. It's on the Wikipedia page that's coming out in July, which makes sense because there's a trailer now. And I was like, that's weird. It wasn't on there.
Weird.
I'm not sure where it's airing. So, but we're going to watch it wherever it is.
Anime news site.
Right. I'm really hopeful because it's a really, really good series. If you haven't read it yet, shame on you.
I haven't read it
I think
yet.
I tried. If it was in the first Reviewstravaganza, I'm pretty sure I at least tried it.
Yeah.
I have no memory of what I thought about it. Maybe also avoided it. Who knows?
But I hope the anime is really good. I hope it looked from the trailer. It looked like it was going to keep the correct tone. So I'm hopeful. And then just to remind everybody, we recently just started a season. We got My Hero, Demon Slayer. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, Konosuba, and Kaiju number 8.
Number 8 dropped. We have not gotten to it yet, but we are planning on it. We have another sampler plate episode in the works.
Yeah.
But first we need to.
There were a bunch of other
populate the
ones, but those were the ones that
Yeah.
I wanted to specifically remind people of because those are the ones that we're closest to. So.
Is that all your news? Because there's another one that just dropped that we just got today that I feel is very important to this podcast. Sakamoto Days anime finally got announced, and it's making me nervous because all we have is a 2024 release date. There's no trailer. There's no images from it. We just know that it's 2024 and it's on Netflix. And never have I been filled with so much fear of like, this is a series that needs a budget.
Yeah.
If this needs One Punch Man Season 1 budget, not One Punch Man Season 2 budget, or it will just not be worth existing.
I'm wondering because there have been rumors about an anime in the works for like a year or two already.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's been like worked on in the background.
We don't know who. Like the
Right.
article specifically states they didn't say what studio, and like I'm just like
How
sounds like they're
involved is
banking.
Netflix?
That's
I don't know. That's the article just said 2024, did not give a season, it did not give a quarter, and it said Netflix, and it said they did not say what studio it
We're
was.
talking Castlevania Netflix or JoJo Netflix.
We'll
One
have
of
to
those
wait and
studios,
see.
I'm pretty sure was French, so
I've already decided that we're going to watch the first episode.
because we will.
And if it's terrible, we'll just pretend it never happened.
Yes, we will actively pretend it didn't happen and say, "Hey, when is that Sakamoto Days anime coming out?" And then a bunch of people get frustrated at us because we're gaslighting them into a better reality. Or maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I can't get my hopes up on this one with this news so far.
We're going to assume it's good until proven otherwise.
I'm going to assume it's suspect until I get literally every evidence that gives me confidence, because right now I have zero evidence that gives me any confidence. Because we're like halfway through 2024.
All right. Well, it's now time for the third
Wow!
annual Reviewstravaganza.
Da, 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 da. I can't believe it. It's wild to think, because we went from, I want to say the first one was recorded in my bedroom,
Yeah.
And then I think the second one actually still might have been, I don't remember if second one graduated to my main room then.
I think we had moved out by then and were, because we started in the living room and then we moved into the bedroom and then we went back out to the living room once I got the shower curtain.
Once we got my containment.
Just clip that, guys. Just clip that.
If anybody who's been following us for a while, there were pictures up on Twitter.
There was that time that you could just see my feet from behind the door because you shut me in my own closet for acoustic's sake.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Keep remembering we're talking about recording a podcast.
Recording a podcast. Acoustics, I'm too loud. We're recording a podcast. And now here we are, episode 30, Reviewstravaganza III in our studio.
Yeah. Oh, and I mentioned this to Kermit earlier. It's interesting because this is episode 30, but this is actually our 79th podcast episode of some sort.
We started making other podcasts then since time prior. I don't remember if heroin addiction was around since last time. I don't remember when that started.
Yeah, we started heroin addiction a while back, but the weekly schedule started last October. So, but we're still having fun. So,
yeah,
I hope people keep listening. And to that end, we've got some more recommendations. So, I think I'll kick it off.
Okay,
which has been tradition so far.
Okay,
and then you guys can fight for the second slot.
Works for me. I'm prepped. I got notes.
All right. Well, to kick this off, I figured, I can't go isekai in the first segment.
Can't go full power yet.
But I'm still really into like fantasy stuff, and I think there's some really good fantasy stuff out there. So I picked, Is It Odd That I Became an Adventurer, Even If I Graduated from the Witchcraft Institute?
You're sure this is not an isekai?
It's not.
I guess because it's a light novel, which I guess I always accrue light novels to isekais because there's a lot of them.
I will tell you now, every single one of mine except for one is an adaptation
of a light novel.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I guess I can make fun of all their names at least. That'll be fun.
And this one is, which I'll get into in a second. But before that, I wanted to give you the actual Japanese
synopsis
name
here.
Majutsu Gakuin wo Shuisuke de... Oh, that's a really long word. Sotsuyoshita ore ga Bokensha wo Hajimeru no wa Sono ni Okashi Daruka. Probably.
I bet Boku was hero because Boku no Akudomo yo.
Boku is I.
Oh.
But I don't think in that case it was.
Boku no Academia?
Boku no Academia means my hero, Boku no.
Bokensha.
Ah, gotcha.
Not Boku, but Bokensha.
Bokensha.
Yeah. Because they called themselves Ore. There's an Orega, right?
Yeah.
Ore.
Yeah.
Orega Bokensha. Anyways, I figured that would be fun.
I am the Academia.
So, as I mentioned, this is an adaptation written by Ikapon. They always have the strangest, one
little pen names.
Yeah. But it was drawn by Arima Sayaka. And it started in 2018. It's been going on for a while. It's 54 chapters.
What? 54 chapters entirely, or 54 chapters somebody has translated or localized?
As far as I can tell, just 54 chapters. I think it's monthly.
Okay.
Oof. Oh, I did have another note here. The person who draws this actually does another series that I read called The Deadly Game of Hero from Another World.
Okay, there you go. There's your isekai.
All right, so I do have the description here that I'll read, and then I'll get into it a little bit deeper. Having graduated from the prestigious Witchcraft Institute at the top of his class, no job is out of reach for William Glenford. Fame, fortune, prestige are at his feet, But William dreams of only one thing.
The One Piece.
Adventures.
So that's close enough.
Finding companions in a run-of-the-mill guild with an up-and-coming party of girls, including a cleric, a martial artist, and a beastman cat girl, and being ranked the lowest at the entry level, they immediately begin noticing that he's grossly overqualified for his role and rank, and that this mage may not be a mere mage, but a full-fledged national-level wizard. Will William adjust to his party, or will the girls ever hope to catch up to him? Will the girls accept him regardless of his overwhelming superiority, or will he always be the big fish in the small pond?
Will the girls accept him in spite of his overwhelming superiority? That's an isekai sentence.
Yep. Is there any doubt that this man's not the...
It does have a harem tag, however.
Hold your L, sir. I've gift wrapped it for you. Hold it.
They do that thing where the guy is completely oblivious.
That doesn't matter.
Except it does,
care.
because there's another girl in the series who is the princess of the kingdom that he's from.
Yes, the one that his heart is set on.
Who he's also oblivious to, but they've been friends since he was a kid because his dad is actually the head court mage. So,
I like that you say these things like you're digging yourself out of a hole and not just digging deeper with like, it's not a harem, Babaka.
Well, it's
just accept it. Just accept it.
It's
okay.
It's an action adventure comedy.
Harem.
That can you really call it that though? Because like,
do the girls fawn over him?
Yeah.
I don't think fawn is the right word.
Okay, then what would you use?
Does
sir?
every girl like him?
Secretly or otherwise?
No.
Move over, Tsundere. Here's the girl that just doesn't like you at all.
The three girls in his party like him, and the princess likes him.
Okay.
The warrior princess, who is actually stronger than him physically. That's important.
Okay.
Eileen. She's cool.
I'd have to see her design.
I mean, she looks fairly standard.
Okay, then, yep.
It's actually the art is actually really fantastic. It's completely fantasy, but they do such a good job of the interjection of the chibi bits because it is a comedy, and so they use that to like cut through those tense moments and like stick the comedy right in there. It's not one of those ones where it's like the out of place chibi stuff like we've seen sometimes.
I mean, if you're saying it's a comedy that it's goofy, then yeah.
Yeah. And
what are his thoughts on shoe cream?
He's not a muscle wizard.
Yeah. He's a magic man.
He's a magic man.
Interestingly, he actually invents multicasting, which is one of the things that makes him like the strongest wizard.
Of course. Are you sure this isn't an isekai?
It's got isekai trappings. I will admit that. But it's really good.
Does he have two wands?
Does he have two mouths of which to speak spells?
No, he has a staff.
Okay.
Wasn't there a series that we covered that they could dual cast by virtue of they spoke one thing and like either they signed or they mouthed another?
Yeah.
It was Faraway Paladin.
Was that Faraway Paladin? What was the technique though?
You could trace a word with one hand.
That's
trace
what it
a different
was.
word with the other hand, and
then
speak
speak a third
word.
one because it was all language based. Yeah, that was pretty rad.
Good job remembering that, Ben.
I read all the
was sitting
books.
here going.
Yeah.
I mean, the seventh Prince one that I was that. He does that by having a demon that's in his hand that speaks while he's also speaking.
That works. Another mouth.
But of course, this series is great because of the characters. All of the characters have diverse and interesting personalities, which is interesting to say considering how sort of like monotone and calm and oblivious Will is all the time. But all of the side characters have these big, bombastic personalities that clash in interesting and funny ways.
It's the Bella effect, but for presumably boys.
How Konosuba is this? Because
You
I'm
mean
getting Konosuba
on the
energy.
Emperor's lap? What are you talking
No,
about? Bella
no, I mean
who?
Twilight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Except Will is interesting.
Is he? What's interesting about Will?
He invented dual casting.
He's the coolest. What makes him cool? He's the coolest.
He's funny because he is so academically gifted, but he wants to be an adventurer so badly. And a lot of the comedy there comes from the fact that he is not strong. He doesn't have stamina or anything. And so he's constantly needing to be dragged around by these girls in his party.
Physically just so
he's physically weak.
Beat up and out of energy from casting spells.
There's at one point they're going to this town that's like up on top of a hill, and there's like a ton of steps to get up there. And all of the girls are just sort of like bouncing, going up this hill, and he's like dragging up here and he can't make it. And so he's someone who grew up in the palace basically because his dad is the head court mage. Someone who was given all of the best opportunities, but then he clashes with his father because his dad wants him to take after him and become, the next head court mage. And he doesn't want that. He wants to go out into the world. He wants
to go be an adventurer.
And be an adventurer. The cat girl, who is like a thief rogue kind of character, is really interesting.
How cat girl are we talking? Very self-serving question.
It is not as much as you want.
Okay. Is it just the ears and tail?
More than that.
Okay. I don't remember where that is on the scale, but noted.
It's like in the 50% range.
Okay.
So not the 75% range that's your speed.
But not the 25% range that anime is a coward to do.
Yeah. Are we talking like Chitara here? Are we talking
I can work with a Chitara.
A little less than a Chitara, but close.
Okay.
Shouldn't be Googling, but now my interest is way in.
But I would say she is sort of the secondary main comedy character because she plays really well off of Will in sort of like his deadpan to her sort of going, what? Like reacting the opposite of him.
It's very Japanese comedy.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
You're going to look up the actual...
I'm Googling this. I have the power to do this. Our technology has increased since last time. I have a tablet.
Is it odd that I became an adventurer even if I graduated from the Witchcraft Institute? Anyway, I'm going to keep talking while you look at that.
Please do this.
So Cyril, who is the priestess, she's just like a normal human. And she's actually probably the closest to Will in terms of like, she probably shouldn't be out here. Although she has more physical strength than Will. But, being the priestess, she does the healing and she casts light magic and stuff like that. And she's sort of like the normal one. So even though Will is like flat and, like non-reactive and stuff, she sort of acts like a normal person in most situations. And so it's like, you get in a crazy situation and Will's standing there like not reacting at all. And she's like, this is crazy. I'm a normal person in a crazy situation. So she's, every one of these characters has like a place in sort of like the structure.
Adventure party.
Yeah. And then.
Is this the.
Yes. I think that's the light novel cover.
Okay. You've another chance at this. Yeah. Characters looking slightly less generic.
And then Saki, the fourth member of the party, is the samurai, and she's an idiot, and it's great and hilarious, and she's my favorite.
Okay, I'm won by that.
She's like very single-minded of like, I have to fight the strongest people and be the strongest, and that's it.
That's my thing.
And so you have all of this that play. Yes.
Okay. I will give it props. The manga artwork looks better than the light novel covers because light novel covers look generic AF, and this at least feels like it's got some. Google it, people.
Yeah.
I entreat you.
So those four, the main party that we follow most of the time, they have really great chemistry. All three of the girls like Will, but Cyril is probably the closest to like, I'm going to confess to him.
Which one's that again?
The priestess.
Okay, that makes sense.
Osaki is also a human, but she's a dumbass. And so they have these adventures that they're going on, and they're meeting various people and getting into stuff. And then we get introduced to another character, Eileen, the warrior princess, Will's childhood friend. And at that point, everybody goes, oh, they're supposed to be together. Like, Cyril doesn't like completely give up, but she's definitely like, well, I guess I'm going to be the second wife, or however that goes.
You can't say that and say this isn't a harem.
Yeah, but it's not, because they don't have that system. Like, the king doesn't have multiple wives or anything like that.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't
just
need a
monogamy.
harem.
It's polyamorous representation. It's not a harem.
You don't need a harem for a series to be a harem series. Konosuba, to an
Okay.
extent, is a harem series.
I'll
There
give
is
you
no
that.
harem. And
I'll give
also,
you
they
that.
all suck. But that's part of the endearing nature of Konosuba.
And this is a similar situation where it's like, if you're coming into this for the harem part of it,
oh, yeah, you're not going to...
you're getting it
If that's
wrong.
the key thing you're looking for, I'm not getting the vibe that's there. But I'm going to say those elements of, here are a bunch of girls who kind of like you.
Yeah. So
The self-serving nature of it.
I would prefer to call that harem adjacent, if anything, but, you know, whatever.
It would not be covered on harem addiction, you're telling me.
No. 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 Stop it.
No.
But yeah, so Eileen comes in, totally outclasses everybody because she's like been training as a knight her entire life. She's super strong. And her dad, who is the king, obviously, is also like ridiculously strong. He's like a warrior king. He got the position of being king because he defeated an undefeatable dragon who later on we meet and she turns into a little girl. But that's
Of course. Always.
Dude, you're trying to sell me on this?
they do it on purpose to poke fun at the trope.
Yeah, sure. Brad's
I'll
ability to
trust you.
float over things is legendary.
I'm not floating over this. It's literally making fun of it. Okay. One thing I need to mention for all of these series that I'm going to be recommending, unfortunately, I could not find official English releases for, which is important.
Yes. So I said earlier, is this a translation or a localization?
Yeah.
To make a distinction.
It'd be cool if they did get official ones because I like all of these, but I could not find them. Obviously, we want to support the official releases, but those are all in Japanese. So you can get them on like Bookwalker Japan and stuff like that.
You really want to
Yeah.
give him your dough?
This one is rated at an 8.22 on my site of choice, which I hope everybody already knows.
Okay, then yeah, I would just double confirm. So yes.
So
well,
pretty
56.
highly rated. Not that I would particularly use that rating as like, these people have good taste, but generally
It's
if
been
you're
proven many times in your other show that is not true, but
if you're over an 8, it's pretty likely that it's
that's
decent.
at least decent, solid. Yeah.
So, yeah. And demons show up later. There's
Classics.
There's a bunch of crazy stuff going on with them right now in the current chapters. They rescue the Elven Kingdom from an invasion of orcs at one point. That's where they meet up with Eileen. A lot of fun there. The elves are hilarious because like
Funny elves?
they're all like, oh, we're forest elves and we're in tune with nature and we can do magic. And then like everyone else is way stronger than them. And then they're like, oh my God, these people are crazy.
I will give it an honest try.
I
As I do most every year around Reviewstravaganza.
I don't know quite how far you'd need to read to really
Feel like I got
latch
it.
onto it. But I had fun with it from the beginning. I don't know that you, Kermit, will, but
I probably won't, but I want to go in with like honestly go in and try to go clear all the things you just roasted Brad about and just try to read it as a series. Genuinely.
it is honestly very funny. But it also is, straight up action adventure. There's a lot of good action scenes in there. Not a ton of cool, like, combat like puzzle stuff, but there's some of that in there.
The cover art looked like not the most generic thing ever, so it's already gotten bonus points for that, unless the regular art is.
I actually think
light novel art was hella generic.
None of the covers really convey a whole lot.
Okay, interesting.
But I think the art is pretty good. It's an interesting style.
That's what
I enjoy.
grabs my eye more, because you can have really good generic looking art. It's not bad art. It's just like, this is looking like everything else, and you know me, I bounce off of that like freaking flubber. So
I got another one on the list that you'll have to force yourself to read.
Gunpoint. Shonen,
but you will,
Shonen shoving the gun to your head.
It's got a very specific thing that you're going to be into.
Oh boy, Brad knows how to bait traps for me.
Yeah. So that's. I'll say this again. Just
say it again. Sometimes people in podcasts do this, and I hate it when they don't say the thing again after you're like curious.
Is it odd that I became an adventurer, even if I graduated from the Witchcraft Institute?
If you Google "Is it odd I became an adventurer," the rest will be there. I can speak
good.
now from personal experience on my tablet.
So yeah, I recommend that, and it is not an isekai.
The letter of the law.
All right.
Who's up
Did
next?
anybody listen to the previous episodes? Do we know how we go in between these parts?
I don't remember. I should have and did not.
We
I
can
didn't
make
think
it.
about
We
it
can
until
do
it
it
was too
fresh. It's a new season.
How do they say it in Japanese? What's the not Rochambeau?
Gambate. John Can Po. Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, whoever wins gets to pick if they want to. Wait, does the winner go next?
The winner goes next.
Okay.
You ready, Ben?
Ben, are you ready?
Okay, this will be weird to do on a
I
camera.
know. Brad will have to keep me
Okay.
honest. I'm going to do it on Brad's thing. I'm going to close my eyes.
Okay.
Okay. Brad, on your thing.
John, Ken, Poe.
Scissors.
Scissors.
Okay.
One more time.
Ready?
John, Ken, Poe. Oh,
Yeah.
Kermit goes.
I thought you were throwing rock, but it was the lag.
Rock beats scissor.
I held my position. Okay. For Reviewstravaganza 3, I have technically broken the rules.
Oh, goody.
But I will make a case for it that I still think it belongs. I am bringing the... and I've been cooking on this for a long time.
Ben goes, we have rules?
What? Well, I mean, it felt like you gotta recommend manga. I felt like that was kind of the point, wasn't it? But I'm going to make the case that this is very shonen manga-y, if it is not literally necessarily a manga from Japan or somewhere in Asia. I am bringing the webcomic Kill 6 Billion Demons.
Oh, yeah.
Has this been heard of?
Yeah.
I
haven't read it.
Okay. It is genuinely one of my favorite like graphic novel comic things that I've ever read. I guess before we get into the particulars, it has 4 physical books out. It has a 5th one coming soon. Each book is like an arc. They are currently on arc 6, I believe. Yes. So it is not done. I am not caught up. I did not catch up in time. I've been busy, and my ability to sit down and read has been hampered. But from what I've heard rumbling, if this arc is not the last one, it'll be the next one. And at least from where I'm at now, things are feeling very final. So...
But what if it got terrible in the last couple pages?
I don't know. It got real shaky where I was reading earlier today.
Oh, don't say that.
Not bad, but like emotionally like upsetting with what the story was going on. And it seemed like it was picking up, and then I had to put it down because you were here then to record. So
no, I was just saying that in terms of like
quality. I know. I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, like
True.
All of my recommendations I've read to the current
the end,
chapter.
yeah.
So
The things I've read, because I guess like I have reread those books so many, like every year I'm like, I'm gonna reread it and catch back up, and then I'll catch back up. He's taken a bunch of like big breaks, especially
Now,
over like COVID times.
when you say books,
Physical books you can buy.
Oh,
there
okay.
are 4 physical graphic novel books that you can get. The 5th one is coming.
is it fair to call that a webcomic then?
Because it's
like
coming
Penny
out-
Arcade has books.
But I mean, it's coming out like the webcomic is first and foremost what it's about, because they're on like arc 6 and
And then they just
arc 5 isn't out
compile
yet.
it down at some
Yeah,
point.
and I don't know. You gain some things, you lose some things from reading it in book format. one of the things that makes it interesting is that every page will sometimes have like a little write-up at the bottom. I'll get into it. Let me even tell what the story is about.
I'll stop derailing you.
I know, sorry. I was also joining the derailing to set up more thing instead of like what the thing is about. So Kill 6 Billion Demons, as maybe the name suggests, is a story of demons and angels in different universes on the same plane, but the story specifically follows Allison. She is an anxious former weeb sorority girl that on the night she's about to lose her virginity, a strange armored man creature thing appears through a portal, says the word king along with a strange language, and puts a strange object that looks like a tuning fork into her head. We later learn this is the Key of Kings, and it was not meant for her, but for the boy Zaid. They don't know each other well. So this is literally how the story starts. Is just they're about, and not even like, it's sexy, but it's like really awkward and strange and like, and then this man shows up very mysteriously. He disappears through a portal, or no, he's still there. A bunch of like crazy creatures that look like they're from a metal cover show up, which we later learn are renegade angels. They look rad. That's the one thing I want to say over everything, that I cannot beam into your head the art style, and the art gets better with every single arc. It is some of my favorite art that I've ever seen ever. It is just the right mix of, not realistic, but like detailed and cartoony, that it just hits this perfect thing. And also like almost every page is just oozing with character, with just like art design and cool ideas and concepts. Like there's an entire set. Later, there's like this big fight that breaks out and is just roving around in the background, and like every character in it is a specific design, and all of them are bangers, and none of them are important characters, but they're all great. Like it's every page when you meet new people, it's like, oops, all bangers.
I'm interested.
Yeah. So what? So then these crazy metal cover looking angels attack. The strange creature escapes through a portal. And then Allison is taken through one portal and Zaid another. And she is now in this other, I don't remember the exact terminology, but she is essentially in another universe that is the city at the center of the universe. Earth, our universe, is but one of, I think it's like 777,777 like realms or universes. I don't know the word for it exactly. And this is now the red city, the ancient city at the center of the universe that used to be like the throne of God.
It's very emo, and I'm liking that.
Yeah, I would say that it's very, it's got a lot of, at least from what I can understand, like Eastern, Asian, Middle Eastern, like religious, like inspirations. There's also a lot of like, I mean, especially with the angels, a lot of like Christianity as mythology stuff mixed in there. There's a lot of the main series doesn't have it, but like I said, sometimes in pages there's like a little write-up. Sometimes it's just like a word commenting on things, but sometimes it's like a write-up of a thing somebody said in the universe, or it's like an ongoing little story, and it's never directly like exactly related to what's going on, but it can be like thematically related. And a lot of those can sometimes read like old religious texts, but like with a mythological bent. Like they're never dry. And I think that there's something about the way they are worded and flow that always like they tickle my brain, and they sound like they're invoking like words of power as it's being written. So our journey begins as Allison is taken to the giant ancient city at the end of all universes, a story of devils, angels, gods, great power, and rad designs and concepts. I already just said all that. We have to, if I'm making a case that this is a manga, we have to have a cast of characters. We have to have the party. You know, if we have a Goku, we need a Bulma, we need a Yamcha, we need an Oolong. Also, these characters are cooler than that. Allison is joined by the angel 82 White Chain, bored in emptiness, returns to subdue evil, or just White Chain for short. So angels in this universe are akin to like biblically accurate angels. They are cold fire, they are eyeballs, they are feathers, they are wings in that. And they don't exist in the universe, but people like built these bodies for them that they then inhabit. And they were supposed to be like the law keepers of the world, but the world's kind of gone rotten and stagnant over so many thousands and thousands of years from the situation I'll describe later. So like with our renegade angels at the beginning, like not many of the angels are still kind of like doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like White Chain is one of the last ones.
This is every concept album with way too much lore.
But it's also cool because that's the thing I would say.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Brad knows this, and I'm sure we've talked about this, Ben. Like, the first book is kind of bad with the, like, you're using too many keywords, but the thing is, like, cool, rad shit is happening, and that will, like, always triumph over, like, you're using too many keywords too early for me, and, like, I feel like I get something new every time I go back and reread the first chapter, because in the first one, like, you're with Allison being, like, super confused what the fuck's going on. And like you can feel that the first time you read it, like, I don't know what's going on, and everything's moving really quickly. But when I go back to it, it feels very like everything clicks together with everything else I've learned later on, and it fits in. Because like literally the start, like she can't speak any of these languages. She doesn't know what's going on, and like she has to like eat a demon that allows her to speak all tongue. Like it's wild. Okay, I'm doing my white chain things. Oh, the factoid I like is all angels have a number at the start of their name, which is every time they have, like, gone to whatever the angel realm is and has come back. So white chain has essentially angel died 81 times, and this is her 82nd time coming here. Yes, when they're killed, they return to their home realm or beaten into a new proper vessel. Every time they do this, the number increases.
So if you meet an angel that's called 1,
yes,
that's a problem.
It's scary. Because that means they've been around for a long time. Because, like, angels have been, like I said, like, the system is, like, we're finding a world where the system has been decaying for a long time.
Or they've just been hidden the whole time.
Also true, but, like, angels do stuff.
Yeah.
White Chain has really cool stuff. I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. In queer parlance, White Chain is an egg. Regardless whether you know what that means or not, and I will say no more besides the fact that I'm really happy to see how they handle that.
Who doesn't know what that means?
I don't know. Some people, that might be specific parlance that people don't know if they're not in the know about.
I thought
kind
that
of
was
stuff.
well known.
But like,
hey, if you don't know what it means, come on our Discord. I'll explain it to you.
Yeah, we'll explain it to you. It's nothing bad. But it's like, it's a story that as I've come back to it in my own little journey has been like, oh wow, this is really neat. They handled this really well. So that's White Chain. Also traveling with Allison then, that we kind of get in the first book, is Sio, who is a devil. I can't speak out loud how her name is spelled because I only learned recently that it's like supposed to be like, the author said it's supposed to be pronounced like Coca-Cola, which I don't understand why that is.
You said devil.
Devil, demon.
Is that the same? Is that interchangeable?
I think so.
Because sometimes it is and sometimes it's not.
You are
Not
correct.
D&D rules.
I think they are demons. I want to say they're demons.
Okay.
So demons are like cool things because they're just like weird. You get some of the backstory of the setup of everything in little bits and pieces that they are just like literally this like almost bubbling id that like human beings like masked and gave names. Like they crafted masks and sort of created them up out of the nothing almost. They're like creatures of pure just desire and want in the moment. And they work on this cool thing where it's like, if a demon has one name, they are the most powerful. They are a black demon. And as they gain more names, they like lose power. If they lose power, they have more names. And they're in this like blue state.
We were just, where was that?
I was
there
maybe
was a
telling you about
conversation
this.
about swords, where the shorter the sword's name is, the more powerful it is. That might have been in the Shonen Flop Discord. And people were like, oh yeah, if it's like Dawnbreaker, the Destroyer of Worlds, then it's like, it's not a really powerful sword. But then if it's like Slayer, it's like super powerful. And I went and I was like,
If it's
this is the biggest, strongest sword, Bob.
yeah.
But yeah, like there's this cool system with that kind of goes on in the background. When we meet Sio, she's a blue demon, so she's kind of at the lowest level, but she's still very capable. She's a devil with a complicated past. Small spoiler.
Is that her only name, or is there more to it?
I think she has other ones. We don't hear it. Okay. I never know how much I want to like this is one where it's like I can spoil some things, but there's a lot that I just want to be like, read it. It's not that long.
I'm just curious because you said if they
she has another name you learn about in like the second or third arc.
She's a lower demon.
Yeah.
But her name is Cyril.
She used to be I guess there's the little thing is she used to be a black demon and then something happened. which you can learn about. Also, as a thing, I will small spoiler. I'm like giving all the Tumblr bait for things. Her and Allison maybe date. I don't know. It may or may not be cute.
What is this reminding me of?
So the demons
Homestuck or something.
It's Homestuck, but it's not as cringy as Homestuck, I would say. I think it's a lot more approachable, but maybe that's just me, as someone who tried Homestuck many years ago and bounced off.
I'm more partial to this aesthetic than whatever Homestuck was doing.
Yeah.
I will say that.
I think they're born. I think this was born from those forums, if I'm remembering correctly.
Wasn't everything at some
A lot of webcomics from that era, from then now, are born in it.
So the demons aren't specifically always just bad.
A lot of them are. The vast majority of them are, or they're literally just like pets for strong and wealthy people.
It's not a hard and fast rule.
No, it's not like... think of them less like the demons from... why can't I think of the name? We literally just watched it like a week or two ago. We talk about all Frieren. They're not... They're more creature than person. Like, literally.
Oh, so like
that's what I was going to ask. Like, are they people?
No, they're more like they can talk, but they are more creature-id than like humanity.
Like forces of nature than...
Yeah, I would say so.
Or like forces of whatever their archetype is.
Yeah.
And so when you have one, like you said, that may or may not be dating someone, then they're more akin to a demon from Frieren that we'll meet later who is curious about humanity.
Yes.
Slenderman.
Not that kind of curious.
A lot of the devils, the few we get to speak to, and especially CO, have a really interesting way of speaking that I think sometimes it goes away more as the series goes on. I think just because Theo's just settling in with Allison and the rest of the crew. But like you would get like subtitles for like, she's saying this, but this is what she means, but you could still catch the meaning. But it's very like verbose and like it's like gobbledy brains. And she says thaw instead of you. And like just these little bits, again, little bits of like world building and stuff that I think is neat when you see it in other places. You're like, oh, I know what the sentence means because I picked this up from...
Do you mean thou?
What? No, it's thaw. T-H-A. Thaw.
Oh.
Yeah. It's not just old speak. It's like its own thing. And it's like you can still figure out what's going on. I really should have brought one of the books with me so I could read a line. So the story follows Allison as she forms this group and both tries to figure herself out and find Zaid. I make the argument this is big manga energy because a bunch of manga shonen stuff happens and skill ability cultivation is a big part of things. The Allison at the start is unlike the Allison at the start of each next arc after that. She is visually different. She's literally stronger. Like the time in between the arcs is the little time skips of training practically. Okay. And also one of the later, the part that I just finished to be on the arc that I'm on now, some of the most like shonen fight like things are popping off, big attack names are happening or occurring, and let me tell you, it's the raddest shit that's ever been. But there's a lot of that, but like it's the things that I love the most where it is both high-brained and low-brained. Like there's just a bunch of like low-brained, like this is really cool. This demon, this thing they're fighting has been dismembered in a very satisfying way. But also like here's a bunch of Eastern philosophy I've never experienced, like presented in a different guise that makes it very like that's curious and interesting. Or like oh I've never thought like that. Like they're very strange, but the world is kind of strange and clicks together as you learn more, and that's what I like about it. That when I come back to it, I can see more things like. I don't know how present they are in the webcomic version, but like the books will have, a lot of them have like between chapters have like on-running stories that sound like, not fairy tales even, like old folk tales, but like there's more going on than any folk tale that I've ever heard. But they're very clearly from like this world of what's going on. There's one that's like a really interesting one where there's like this prince and he's set to be wed, but he has these 3 different wives, and it's always been the tradition in this kingdom that the top wives fight and whoever is surviving gets to marry into the family. And he's like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to have this violence world anymore. I always heard stories when I was a kid of this wonderful city that there was no violence in anymore. So like he goes running and the 3 make chase after him, and they each have like there's the like one who's like all I think she's older, but she has like a rifle and she's got incredibly good sight, so she'll just freaking pop you from a distance. There's like the giant one who just like smashes things with a huge cauldron, and the third one is like appears to be lazy, but she's actually literally just like a coiled spring at all times, ready to just kill you, and she's just storing all her energy. And it's this like continuing story of like him on the run, going through little folklore moments. So like he meets, I think literally named in the story, like the very wise frog, and the frog's just like, dude, there's no place that has no violence. Like, you're crazy. Like, violence is a part of the world and you need to accept that. And like literally in the context, he's like, yo, you're lying to me, frog. There's something more. And the frog like falls off the hill and dies because he got shook. And like to like further exemplify, it's like you can't escape violence. It's part of the world. And just like, and that's not even just the literal story that you read in the webcomic. You can just ignore that entirely. You do not need to read those things. There's nothing in there that you need to understand the story, but you can get like little setups and setting things from that. So also, if this was a manga, we need big bads that we have to deal with. I feel like that's a big thing in shonen manga, that you set up, here are the guys we have to fight for.
Yeah.
And this world has the 7 big bads known as the demiurges. And you kind of, Alice and her gang kind of deal with them arc by arc. Each of these 7 demiurges has one particular key of the 7 keys that is akin to Alison's Key of Kings. They are each one word of like the voice of God. That's why they look like tuning forks. And this gives them incredible power.
You must have talked to me about this before, because that sounds so familiar.
Okay, maybe. I might have even talked about it on Monday without saying what it was, so I didn't give things away because I was reading it.
It wasn't that soon.
But they each have their own empire and like a really different style, and they're all in like this standoff, because it's like, as long as everybody's at this sort of like, you know, tete of like, as long as we're at the same stage, each of them owns 100, you know, what is it? 100, I don't know how to say that number out loud anymore. They own 1/7 of all those universes I said before. Mm. So it's this like perfectly, everything's not great, but it's this kind of perfectly balanced system. And if any one of them rises up, the others are supposed to work together to crush that one down. So it's a tenuous but balanced system. And then Allison comes in with the Key of Kings and upsets the whole apple cart. And that's kind of what gets the story going. I think they're all really cool. I literally just met one where I'm reading now that I've been seeing since the beginning and had no idea what her deal was. I'm not going to describe it, but it was just like, what's your deal? There's one of my favorites is named Gog, who is just a bunch of worms that forms into a Harlequin character, and she's just sort of this like omniscient jester character. There's a part, to be more manga, one of the arcs is a fighting tournament, and she is just, collectively, her and all of her other selves are the like the MCs of the entire show. They are running it, they are doing the play-by-play, they're on the TV broadcast, like, who else is there? I'm trying to remember names. There's Solomon David, who's like this guy, he came from, his like kingdom was crushed entirely, and he's like the one surviving guy.
I was going to say Solomon David's kind of on the nose for kings.
Oh yeah, but he's rad though. He's jacked. He's black. He's got an awesome beard, and he's jacked as fuck. And he does a bunch of JoJo shit. And literally, he learns this crazy like martial art, and he goes back. He kills the invaders, and from his like torched, burned homeland, builds up the heart of his entire civilization that spans all of his things, and he's been alive for like thousands of years. There's a bunch of them. They're cool, and you kind of meet them one by one, and Allison deals with them, and you kind of mini spoil, like you learn a lot more of like, oh, you're the most powerful beings in the universe. Aren't you happy? And it's like, no, we're all kind of locked in a fucked up cage, each of us in our own special way. And seeing that all kind of fall to pieces. I'm going over my notes. I already talked about the first book being kind of confusing. I know it's really easy to invoke One Piece when it comes to making comparisons for setups and payoffs, but like genuinely like little bits that I learned popping up later and going like, oh, I understand this because I read this thing back then. And I think that's neat. I kind of already talked about that I can't beam the art into your heads because this is a podcast. So I'm going to try to capture at least some of the writing from some of those like end of like once a page is up, sometimes there is like a document or something written there, like I said, that is like related and may conceptually show up but is not important plot wise, just to kind of catch some of that vibe of the actual comic. I don't think it ever gets too stuffy, which can help because I feel like when you're having to deal with a lot of lore and big emotional things, it can be very easy to get lost in the sauce and just be too up your own butt and be dry. But like it doesn't forget, like it's especially with Allison being from Earth and just kind of being at least when you first meet her, kind of like a sputtered out failed human to an extent, where she's like literally goes at one point like, I tried to schedule losing my own virginity like on my calendar. And you get like a shot of when she's younger and she's cosplaying as Sailor Moon, and it's like, I know this person. But like the dialogue is not always this like verbose and overwrought. It is at times, and however it's written, it just tingles my brain instead of boring it, which is usually what happens with dialogue like this. So I want to attempt to capture this with two sections from an in-universe written manual called the Manual of Hands and Feet. Which is a written accord of a traveling monk finding and learning about different martial arts styles. So I'm going to take two small sections from that to try to capture the way these are written, to try to get across to you at least something cool about Kill 6 Billion Demons, because like I said, the coolest thing about it is the art style, and I can't beam that to you in podcast form. So this is the write-up about the martial arts style called Leisure Kicks. An external style, chiefly concerned with the sole use of the feet and legs to inflict powerful and rapid blows upon the opponent. The hands are reserved for killing blows only. The style is rare, but its practitioners are extremely devoted. The style is said to originate with the rogue long boxing master, Kin Corinne. While abbess of her order, she was accused of extravagance and overindulgence by her subordinate monks. She took bribes for blessings and temple offerings and became well known for her love of gifts, wine, and luxury, plying her favors with the local magistrates to great effect. A rebellion within the temple took 30 lives and saw her exiled, beaten, bloody, and with her head shaved and fine silk abbess robes torn into shreds. Kin Corinne swore from that day that she no longer deemed any martial artist worthy of her fists, and she would instead crush all who came before her under her feet. Her arrogance was so extreme she established her own school after working as an itinerant mercenary for some time, and soon drew a devoted following, resuming many of the corrupt and debased practices as former abbess. The mountain town about her school soon became a heaving den of sin and treachery, defended by rogues and bloodthirsty mercenaries, and ruled by the bloody and debauched abbess, fleshless political power and coin, who was so skilled in martial arts that she could decapitate a man by kicking his head off faster than the eye could see. The rogue school and Kin Corinne were ultimately destroyed by the mendicant knight, Wei Shu Hao Yang, in 530 SC, with the use of his invincible heavy crashing wave technique. The abbess and all 130 of her acolytes were hurled off of a mountain and dashed against the rocks, but her style survives to this day despite efforts to stamp it out. Like, you never meet this character, you never go there, this time period's not that important, but, like, I just think that's, like, oozing with, like, world-building, interesting stuff.
That's an entire manhwa on its own.
Yeah, I just love the concept of, like, everybody was beneath her using her fists for martial arts, so she made a martial art where she just stepped on people.
Her best student was a chef who had a boat.
Yep.
And
I was thinking about that.
No, I like that. I mean, it sounds like Dune has a lot of asides like that. A lot of like in-universe books and stuff. I like that. And I looked it up. I'll vouch for the art.
Yes. And
I was going to say, I can tell Ben's reading it already.
When you read this... And like later on, when somebody in the martial arts tournament, somebody mentions leisure kicks, I'm like, you get the meme where it's like, you point at the TV, you're like, I know about that, I heard about that, I know what the deal is with that. That's rad.
Leo meme.
Yeah. And here's a shorter one that I think is that captures some of the more silly nature in there. This one is called Flying Snow. Regretfully, I know little of this rare internal technique other than one learns it over many years by listening to certain resonances of the wind. Extended practice is very difficult, but makes the body extremely light, so much that it seems to ignore the common properties of gravity. There are rumors that masters of this technique can balance their whole weight on a single leaf, walk on water, or even fly. I would have inquired more about its properties, but the only master I was able to reliably locate mocked me for my lack of knowledge shortly after I came upon him in a bamboo grove, at which point he bounded away, propelling his whole body off the forest with only a light touch of his fingertips. Like, I like that. It's just ones that it's like, it does this really rad thing that shouldn't make sense, but it does, and then the guy effed off. And then there's another one that describes, like, this heavy, like, bow user that he follows him up this mountain, and he's got this, like, giant ballista bow in this, like, bad kingdom for like 3 days, and then he finally gets up there, and the guy shoots the bow into the castle like miles and miles and miles and miles away, and it like goes through multiple walls and impales like the evil king that's there. Because when they come back down the mountain finally in those 3 days, the whole townsfolk are like jubilant about it. This evil dictator is dead, and it's just like, this is a side story that has nothing to do with anything, and it's just the raddest shit. It is just really neat, and all the book 1 has a lot more of like, here are little like psalms and stuff from like God, who's I think is called Yisun. Like there's a whole like creation myth with all of it. Like there's so much stuff, and if you want to dig into it, and you can, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. I would say.
How long has this been going on?
I want to say like 2014, 2015. Though he took some really big breaks through COVID, which is a lot of the times that I flew off because he had children, and having a baby is going to take your time up instead of drawing this incredibly wonderful detailed art. And his art has only gotten better as time has gone on, because I went back to book 1 to get some information for that starting summary, and I'm like, oh man, this has changed.
That's interesting, because given all of the stuff that seems to be in here, that gives me the feeling like, oh, this should have been going on since like mid 2000s.
I've said a lot of stuff, but there is also just a bunch that I have not said at all.
Well, even more so.
Which is good.
So it's crazy to me.
I had enough to put the bait on the hook.
It's crazy to me that this person has done so much.
Oh, and they do other work as an artist. They're known as, I believe on Twitter they go by Abaddon.
Okay.
And they've done the art for like a couple, like, I guess I'd call them like game books. I don't know what I'd call them. Like essentially like tabletop gaming systems and stuff like that. And even I think there's one where they drew a bunch of robots, and that's also like just anything they draw and the ideas that come out of their head are just so infinitely fascinating. I implore you, it's like if I could pick one image, like can we swap images as our logo during it? Because I know an ancient podcast did that once.
Well, I'll tell you what, because the description for the Reviewstravaganzas always has links in them where available. So there will be a link to this.
Yes.
So just go down there, click it real quick.
I'll put there's this gorgeous 2-page spread that has all of the characters and all these other ones in the fight. There's a character, I don't even know if it has a name, that is essentially just a gun witch. And she's just the coolest, and she's not important. And that makes me like, oh, that was the final thought I wanted to say with this, is like, I would actively sacrifice a human being if I could get a AAA Elden Ring level Dark Souls version of this game, of this comic. Because it is perfect for Dark Souls of like weird put together lore. Hey, there's just this cool badass you've never seen before just chilling over here. I mean, what, at one point in the series they're living in the
standing and like what equipment they have.
Yep. And the history of all of it.
Yeah.
What freaking the gang is living inside at the start of one of the arcs. Their apartment, their house is living inside the head of a dead god, and that's just normal in the Red City. Like, I'm excited to read. I'm gonna read more of it then.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It makes me think. It makes me feel. It's rad. It gets me hype. That someone does a German suplex at one point, which, you know, that's like an instant 10 out of 10 in my book. Yeah. But yes, this is Kill 6 Billion Demons. You can read all of it for free on its own website, which you can Google by Googling that name. Or you can spend money to buy books, which I did and would also recommend because they're very good.
Awesome. Go read it.
Go read it.
After you listen to the rest of this.
Yes, finish listening.
All right. Well, it's time, Ben.
It's time.
Lay it on us.
So I had a kind of philosophy with what I'm bringing you today.
Ooh.
I had a theme in my head. My theme was midlife crisis.
Oh, good.
And so also, you know, like, I don't know the rules of this, but this is like my first one. It's kind of like an anti-recommendation. It's like a recommendation for scientific purposes.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Bomba by Osamu Tezuka. So what you got to know about Bomba is this is Tezuka's Gekiga phase. He's done with Astro Boy.
He's done with his whimsical pictures. He's now drawing. What was the Geki part? Was it adult?
Dramatic pictures.
Dramatic. Did he create that name?
No, and it really pissed him off that he didn't. He did not create it. He did not create the style. It turns out Art was capable of moving on without him, and he didn't like that. Which is why this fits in the midlife crisis category.
The artist was having a midlife crisis.
He was having a midlife crisis. This was written in 1970 at the height of his, like, I won't say maybe not the height, but like definitely Mushi Studios is starting to experience financial problems.
Shonen Jump has started. I learned that. Yep. I know that from if you've watched my panel, you'll know.
The up-and-comer Shonen Jump.
The up-and-comer, out for 3 years at this point in the 1970s.
And Gekiga is now like the popular manga or the popular comic style in Japan, and he didn't invent it. He's a latecomer to the movement. He's worrying about his relevancy. He's 42 years old.
He's a dinosaur in Japanese years.
Well, he died at 60.
Oh.
So
apparently from unfettered rage.
He had to leave at some point. How else could his daughter find those pictures?
Toriana died around 60.
Oh, I shouldn't have made that joke.
Miura died around 60.
It's almost like being a mangaka is a really unhealthy. How old is Oda?
I was going to say, somebody check on it.
He better be in his 40s or I'm really nervous. I know he's taking it easier now.
But
Kishimoto, Fujimoto, who else is there? Someone find out all of the ages of all of the manga that we like.
62 is the whatever that year age that everybody died in American pop culture way too young.
27.
27.
Yeah, the 27 Club.
We passed that.
Yeah,
because we're not famous.
No, I have a very low stress life, and that's mostly thanks to the medications I take. But yeah, so Bomba. Okay, here's what Bomba is about. It is a young man named Tetsu. He, at the start of the manga, is, I think, in junior high, and he's got a crush on his teacher. There's a female teacher he likes. And he's grown up hearing stories about his dad's time in World War II.
Okay, I'm getting more nervous.
His dad was stationed in China during World War II.
I'm getting more nervous.
Jesus.
Uh-oh. Wow.
There's no war crimes. But, well, I mean, there were war crimes, but
they're
not in this
implied. The war crimes are implied. It's about the war crimes you don't talk about.
His dad was in a remote part of China. They were just hanging around.
His dad was in the part of China where the Chinese were still fighting back. So,
again, implied.
His dad had an abusive superior officer, and the superior officer had a horse he rode. And
fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
The horse was awesome, really chill horse. Dad got along with the horse great. The guy who rode him, not so much. And the horse was named Bomba.
Okay, title drop.
And one day the dad says, like, "Oh man, Bomba, you should just throw that guy off the saddle." And Bomba does. In the middle of an attack, he throws the general off. The general is killed. But throughout the course of the war, Bomba is also shot and killed. So Bomba dies. Now, part of the reason I'm recommending this is just for like all of the mentions of stuff you hardly ever see in manga, at least manga that makes it over here, and especially from like really famous mangaka, is Tetsu's mother is a comfort woman. Now, this is interesting. She's a comfort woman who was sent from Japan. She's a Japanese native sent to China to take care of the troops.
Yep, that's the thing that happened.
Yeah, so it's not one of Japan's. There were other comfort women who were not volunteers, and this doesn't seem to be that. But so he is a product of that marriage, and his parents are obviously not like happy people.
I could get that vibe.
Yeah. So he grows up hearing stories about this horse, this great horse. and its dark past. And one day they get a new teacher who is
the only light in his dad's life.
Of course.
So one day they get a new teacher, and this teacher is a man, and he is trying to woo the teacher who Tetsu has a crush on. And Tetsu doesn't like that. And one day this teacher finds a note that Tetsu is writing to the female teacher that he likes her and she shouldn't marry this guy. He's not good for her. The guy finds this note and beats the crap out of him. Maybe. And then that guy is mysteriously killed by a ghost horse.
Jesus Christ.
It's a stand. I don't think I've ever seen a stand that was a horse. There is whole horse, and a bunch of stand users ride horses. But I don't think I've ever... Okay, there's technically one is kind of a horse, but not really. It's not a full horse. It's not a rideable horse.
And then Tetsu has a moment where he tells his father that he confesses that he's in love with his teacher and he's planning on marrying her. Or planning on asking her to marry him.
How's Dad feel about this?
Dad is enraged by that. He's like, I'm not going to allow that. That's good. That's completely messed up. And the dad, he's drunk, but he goes to talk to the teacher and he's like, hey, you need to put a stop to this. And that's when she takes him aside and says, like, like this, it's not really a thing that can happen, right? Like, and the kid is so embarrassed. He is so enraged by this betrayal of his father that he conjures Bomba again. His parents go to get on a bus to go on a trip, and Bomba runs at the bus. The bus driver like swerves off a cliff, kills everybody on the bus.
What the?
Why?
And this is just the beginning.
But his dad was his friend.
Yeah, Bomba doesn't really care about like civilian casualties.
This is just the form his latent psychic energy has taken. The story
Bomba's
spoke to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he thinks it.
Yeah, and time goes on. Like the teacher moves.
Power.
The teacher moves to Tokyo, and says like,
Wild Horses.
Wild Horses, probably.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of another horse-related song.
Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Yep, that was just trying. Yeah, that was. Yep.
Goodbye Horses.
Goodbye Horses. Yep. Yeah, actually that. Yep.
Teacher goes to Tokyo, tells Tetsu, hey, if you ever come to Tokyo, look me up. But then she dies.
Wait, so she was like cool with him?
It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
Correct.
Because nothing else was weird up until this point.
So she dies. She's trampled to death in a train platform stampede. I don't know if that was like a social commentary or something. It was a very random way to die.
Goodbye Horses.
But it turns out that there's a rumor going around that this woman who was trampled to death was just getting with so many guys, just all the guys. She loved having sex.
I mean, that definitely deserves death, right?
Yeah.
It turns out she wasn't clean and virtuous. She was a disgusting whore and needed to be trampled under the
so he doesn't believe
the
it
hooves
at first.
of my stand horse.
He doesn't believe it at first, and you better believe Bomba takes issue with anybody who talks about her reputation like that. But then he finds out it was true, and so she betrayed him too. She leaves him a note.
Betrayed me.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give away the whole.
Tetsuo.
I'm not going to give away the whole thing, but Bomba it grows to ridiculous proportions. The entire nation is terrorized by Bomba. He's just murdering everybody who even slightly inconveniences him. And of course, there's a woman who understands him, and her accepting him is going to be the way like he can call this off. Basically, it's a story about like a sympathetic school shooter.
Is this not proto Death Note?
Maybe
in a way. Like, not in the way that Death Note got inspired by it, but, like, there's beats of this that's like, this sounds like Death Note a little bit.
Tetsu is
but if,
not
like, the
even...
If Light was stupider.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tetsu has no plan. He's pure emotion.
What if an isekai protagonist pre-death got the Death Note?
Maybe. Because there's something very incel-y about this story.
Yes.
And it's the notion that this teacher didn't wait for him, and that upsets him, and she wasn't the person he needed her to be, and that upsets him. And anybody who embarrasses him, it's always like somebody who exposes his fragile ego gets killed by Bomba.
It damages his manhood.
Okay, but
his masculinity.
The important part here is to the thing we need to be clear. Does the series paint him in a sympathetic light, or
Absolutely.
is he the villain? Okay, so that's the problem.
He's the
problem.
Yeah, this is why it's an anti-recommendation, because it's insane how it's such an on-the-nose depiction of incel anger that you struggle to believe that the person who wrote this could be so emotionally honest about their feelings and still not see it. Like, he still doesn't get it by the end. He's gone through this whole thing of like, yeah, this kid is a monster. This kid is a selfish little crybaby. But he's still like, he's not even just sympathetic. He's like heroic at the end almost.
Oh my gosh.
And
not because he's grown.
He grew or made change or did something for the world. It was because he killed all those people when they...
So I will give a spoiler. Eventually, he turns his anger towards himself, and Bomba tries to attack him.
Oh, but he survives because he's such a cool
Instead
dude.
of letting that happen, somebody tries to save him and succeeds. I would not have tried to save him. But
gosh.
The appropriate ending for the story is Bomba kills him because he is now consumed by his own anger. That's a story that makes sense and deals with this well, but that's not where Tezuka's head was at. He was like, I'm angry. I'm going to tell a story about an angry young man. And it's that same thing of like, I recommend this partly because it's a piece of Tezuka history where he's at this point where you're Osamu Tezuka, 42 years old. He's already done Astro Boy. He's already done Princess Knight. He's already got Mushi Studios. He's done some anime. Like, you're established. You know, your style is the style. You are anime. But you're also on the wane. He's so insecure.
Yes.
About his position and the fact that there are college kids developing this new style and he's not at the forefront of the movement anymore. And I don't know, I feel like, yeah, on one hand, he's writing something to be marketable to teenagers, but on the other hand, he's kind of portraying his own anger as a 42-year-old man in a teenager's like situation.
Makes him seem really sad.
Yes. And it's such an interesting little like piece of art that leaves way more on the page than I think he ever intended. And so that's why I say, like, I recommend it. If it wasn't Tezuka, I wouldn't recommend this story. This story in isolation is just stupid. But that it is this legend, and it's such a pathetic story.
And that it's after his great works.
Yeah, and it's not even like him
figuring himself out when he's younger.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think you should read about Tezuka. If you're going to read this, you should get some of Tezuka's biography, like understand his rise and where he was at about this time in his life, and then read Bomba. And
this is the academic recommendation.
Yeah. No, this is manga literature.
This has big energy of when you meet a crazy person, it's a coin. Like if you meet somebody who's kind of more off the beaten path, it's a coin flip of like, you're a magical, amazing human, or oh my gosh, your insides are rancid. Please never speak to me again.
Well,
I'm in danger.
There's a couple other reasons I'd recommend it. Like the one, it is Tezuka. His art is still really good.
Tezuka. Yeah.
I mean, the way he draws things is entirely his own. Like even the worst Tezuka manga is still going to be worth looking at. But the other thing is, like, you know, as Bomba's going around, before people accept that they're being terrorized by a sometimes giant ghost horse, they do suspect other foul play, and like at some point they blame it on the Korean native population
of course
Japan, and so there's little things thrown in there that, like, little bits of things that, like, I guess I would call them political, but I don't think he intended them to be political statements. I think they're just observations of the world around him that got kind of whitewashed by the 90s.
I've definitely run into that where I find old songs very clearly making a political statement, but it's been so long that I don't know what side they're on about it, because these were feelings that were made then, and I don't know if they're tongue-in-cheek or not. And that feels like this. Not if they're tongue-in-cheek, but like by virtue of when they were made and who made them and how things have changed since then about those, to be like, I don't know his position on this at all, even though there's so much of him in this story.
It's certainly, I recommend this also because there is a Viz paperback out now.
Whoa.
Of just Bomba, the whole series. It's pretty short, and it was such a random piece of his work to publish in 2024 that if you find it, maybe just flip through. You could read it in the bookstore if you got coffee. Like, it's, you don't have to buy it if you don't want to support it, but it's weird.
We'll cover it on Shonen Jump.
Oh, God.
Would you buy it? No, we did, but don't.
Yeah,
so that's
my
Bomba.
recommendation.
What's your actual recommendation?
Do you want me to do another one?
Oh, I didn't know if that was your thing. I didn't know.
I don't know. Or do you guys have other ones? Are we going back and forth?
So, I mean, I've got my 3 isekai.
He's got his 3 isekai for the ender, so if you've got another one.
Yeah, I can do one more.
You described a theme of midlife crisis, so I wanted to see what the positive side of that coin.
I got a bunch, but I'll give you a positive one.
Okay, give me a positive one.
This one's coming out, I think currently. I think you could get it on the Viz app.
Oh.
It's not all translated yet, but it is called Tokyo These Days by Taiyo Matsumoto. And it is about an editor who I think he's in his late 50s, maybe early 60s. And he's a manga editor who has tried to launch a new magazine, and it failed. And he's complaining that, magazines are, or people are telling me magazines are a risk these days anyway. And, you did your best, but it really bummed him out. And so he's decided he's going to retire. And he is going to give all his clients to other people and just walk away from it. He's going to sell all his manga. He's just getting away from it and starting new, something at the end of his life. And he tries to move on, but it doesn't ever really work. Like, he keeps getting drawn back to it. He keeps getting reminded of things from the past. And then eventually people from his old job do, like, call him and ask his advice on problems. And he goes out with some of his old colleagues who are still drawing manga. And there are other old people, like, and I say old, like they're 50. So they've got 10 years left to live, according to
I was going to say they're 28.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's one guy who still does, like, screen tones. He's still, like, inking on paper with and doing screen tones and stuff. And there's all these new mangaka who are totally digital. And as he's about to sell his manga, the editor, he gets it all appraised, and he's got, like, a bunch of rare stuff in his collection. And it just, you get the vibe that this guy really loved manga, but he can't sell it. he decides he's gonna try to do one more thing, and he's gonna get an artist, and he's gonna try to make a new manga series. He doesn't think they've all like given it all of the creative stuff they have. He thinks they've got like at least one more in them, and he's gonna try to make the kind of manga he wants to make again, not the kind of manga that is profitable and trendy, but the kind of stuff like he used to love.
So not something for Shonen Jump.
Yes. And that's exactly why I related to it. But,
Yeah.
no, because I felt that way. Because I've talked about like the stuff I really like is from like the 80s and the early 90s, sometimes even the 70s. And all of my like really favorite stuff is from that time period. And there's been stuff I like since then. But yeah, I do kind of wish like somebody would make a weird one, and like the kids would hate it, but I would like it. We should do it for me.
It's for me, a human that doesn't even live in the country that the stuff is coming.
Yeah. But this made me feel seen, and there's a nostalgia to it. There's kind of there's a maturity to it. It's obviously written by somebody who has lived this life and felt these emotions. Taiyo Matsumoto, if you don't know, he's won an Eisner Award in America.
Yeah, it said that. I looked it up on Viz then. He wrote Ping Pong, which I watched the anime 4 years ago and really liked.
Yeah, he's won multiple awards in Japan. This particular manga was on a bunch of Japanese best manga of the year lists.
Did you say it was ongoing or?
It's ongoing on the Viz app. It's finished in Japan.
Okay, I saw like 8 chapters on the Viz app. So
yeah, I think it's collected in 3 volumes. The first volume is out in English, and that is what you can get on the Viz app. You could also get the paperback if you want.
Oh, good to know.
But the next 2 volumes are being translated. They are being translated.
Okay, cool. I wonder if this is like a Golden Kamuy situation where they just localize them in book chunks.
I think they're localizing it a book at a time.
That makes sense. They probably finish the paperback and then.
But there's also this art style to it that at first I didn't know if I liked it. The lines are like squiggly, shaky almost. They're very light. But the more I read it, the more it fit the emotional tone of the story, because it gives it this like surreal, wistful, like could be real. It's kind of like a blurry realism. People still have highly stylized faces, but they look Japanese. They look like real people. And a lot of the backgrounds look like photographs. They probably are sketched over photographs. And yeah, it just has this, it all combines to this shot of like, you're walking down the street looking at your shoes and perceiving everything that's around you that way, just like out of the corner of your eye. Which is kind of the vibe this guy's looking at the world with. Cause he's like half there. He's like lost in thought. He's trying to get across all the emotions he's never gotten across before in an industry where that's not really the done thing. And so this is the genuine recommendation.
I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued.
Yeah, and I mean, especially since it's 1 volume right now, but 3 volumes for a complete series,
and it's on the Viz app.
That's a good 2 or 3 days of reading.
That's good. That's good eating.
Yeah, just to get something that sounds like is meant to speak to you and does.
Yeah, I don't know where our listeners fall in the age range. But I would say if you've been, I don't know, it hit me as somebody who's like got some creative bent and in a job that very much is not the job I would choose to express myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely reaching a point where it's like, okay, I'm like 36 now. If I was a manga creator, more than half my life is over.
Yeah.
So I actually need to think about like how I spend this time. And that's what I liked about this story, is like it showed somebody who's like, yeah, society would tell this guy, go golf, like You're done. Retire. But he's like, no, I'm gonna get back in there. I'm gonna do one more manga.
It's really funny you said golf because that made me think of, I don't know if you read all Green Greens, which is about admittedly a teenager who goes, I've never really fully invested in something, but I'm going to invest in, I'm going to give golf a really proper try with all of my heart. And it was just the same thing you said, but 30, 40 years earlier.
Yeah.
I think that's why it speaks to us old people and not to the young who are like, that's stupid.
I don't really, currently, I don't feel a need for like a creative outlet because we do this.
This is your creative outlet?
This is my creative outlet. Because I'm not an artist. I don't draw or anything like that. I'm a vocal artist.
An engineer, vocal artist and audio engineer.
Yeah. So I'm not, I don't think I'm really, that doesn't speak to me quite as much, but I am interested in it. I like the concept that it's going for, even if it's not particularly, a message that I feel would speak to me. So
yes, it's a slow burn. I mean, in a good way. I don't think it's ever going to have a big, like, bombastic thing. I don't think there's enough here to make it into an anime. This is yeah.
No, but that's as much different stuff as I read. Having it's sort of like the slice of life ones that I get into. It's like having those little spots throughout the fantasy adventures and stuff.
Human moments. That
just to, sit with and live with a person. And experience their life and their emotions and what they're going through. It's a nice way to sort of, I don't know. It's almost like an after dinner mint. It just sort of cleans you out, Like,
that is certainly a way to put it.
All right. Well, thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, for your recommendation and anti-recommend.
I can't say that I'll read the first one, but that second one sounds interesting. I think I'll check it out.
Bomba is fucking weird.
I'm gonna look for it when I go to the bookstore next time.
It's offensive, no doubt.
Oh, I know. You've said that.
Yeah, it's an offensive story, but it's fucking weird.
It's offensive, but it's also weird.
I don't know. I like it in the way I like Ghost Adventures, I guess.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine a Ghost Adventure style dub of? Is there a Bomba anime?
I hope not.
Imagine we'll need to make
because
an abridged version of it.
It's what you were saying. Nobody wants to animate horses.
Yeah.
You know what I would watch? Zach Baggins getting attacked by a ghost horse.
I would watch Zach Baggins pretending to get attacked by a ghost horse. In fact, I may have. That might be the new episode.
ご覧のスポンサーでお送りします。
All right, everybody, we are going to have a little ad break right now. I know normally we do this after the second segment, but given the length of the first segment,
Reviewstravaganzas.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about some special treats that I have next to me. I don't have anything written out. Ben, you should tell the viewers about, or the listeners about Sugoi Mart while I open some things.
Sugoi Mart is a wonderful website where you can get the latest snacks, treats, and toys that are current in a Japanese 7-Eleven. I like it more than some other bespoke subscription box services because this is like what you actually want. You want gummies. You want the junk food.
Kermit currently has
really nice chips you'll never actually spend money on in the store, but when they come in the box you spent money on, they're extra delicious.
So I've given Kermit Polar Bear Melon Cream Soda Gummy. And I here am about to open. What is this? Part of the problem with these is that you can't read it because it's all in Japanese. This is Koala's March. It's Hello Kitty apple pie.
Oh, is this an animal-themed month? What's the theme?
I don't.
Is it another Hello Kitty anniversary?
I do believe it is. I don't remember why I know that.
Oh, yeah, it's Hello Kitty's 50th.
50th.
Yeah.
She wears it well.
Man, she old.
She old.
Wow. Oh, that's strong. Okay, these are like miniature little apple pie crackers.
You also get the joy of opening up a bag that's been super sealed to be shipped over from Japan and getting blasted in the face with whatever the taste smell is.
Holy crap, this is actual apple pie.
Oh man, is there new tech? Is there new food tech? We've talked about it many times before. Japan has the secret food tech that they make snacks that taste like the actual food, like they're freaking Willy Wonka.
Like, this tastes like I'm eating a piece of apple pie.
They've gotten it for certain fruits, like actually literally fruit flavored, not color fruit flavor, not candy fruit flavor, but like literally that, because we think it would be like grapes. They made chips that tasted like corn.
It doesn't have apple pie inside, but it tastes like an apple pie. These are so good.
I think the gummies are messing up my taste buds a little bit.
Here, let me try the
freaking
gummies.
Cream melon. You want one? But no, okay, that's settling in more. That's good. Oh, nice catch. Good snap.
Ooh.
They're
Ooh,
good.
melon. Yeah. But cream soda?
Melon but cream soda. As a
The
big fan
apple
of
pie
gummies-
ones are stronger.
Okay, well you got them first. To me, these are stronger because I got to it first. But the apple pie ones also got some.
It's good though.
Yeah, good box. That's why you got to get it. You never know what goodies you're gonna get
Okay.
because they come all together. Oh, here's the piece de resistance. I see it
Last-
approaching.
But definitely not least, this is for Ben. We're going to eat it in his stead because he's remote.
Hello Kitty flavored Kit Kats. I
Almost.
can kind of see it. Strawberry shortcake Kit Kats?
Yes, but not the character strawberry shortcake, like actual cake. So this is
Cakey.
the special.
This is Christmas cake.
Yeah,
Technically.
it's the
This is
special
idealized Christmas cake.
strawberry cake Kit Kat.
Strawberry.
I have a feeling these are going to be really good.
cake. Almost assuredly.
I mean, even the wasabi Kit Kats are good.
There was wasabi Kit Kats.
Oh, that smells.
Oh,
really
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yo.
Oh, yeah.
Yo.
That is so good. So,
This is the taste idealized of that cake you make in Paper Mario is Peach.
yeah. So, our listeners need to check the link in the description or go to segoymart.com and use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order. And they can get all of these amazing treats that are so good. Oh my God, these Kit Kats
Really
are
good.
legitimately really good.
You need to move them out of your hand's reach or you're going to eat them all and die.
I can't believe those taste like apple pie.
Throw me another of those. I'm going to be self-indulgent for a second.
Well, you need sugar.
No, I don't need more of these.
Oh, the apple
I want an
pie.
apple pie one.
I'm going to eat some more of these.
Swig some water.
Anyway, use that code or click the link in the description.
You too could be enjoying this feast just like we are. Don't be a Ben, be a us eating these things.
Sugoi Mart. Sugoi desu ne.
Okay, well, now it is time for a triple isekai recommendation.
Bam, bam, bam.
This is an important segment because, as we all know, there are so many isekai and most of them are terrible, but there are good ones out there. And so I am here to present them to you.
Ben and I are here to roll our eyes.
So the first one that I'm going to be recommending to you is called I Want to Play Happily in Another World Because I Got a Heavenly Castle.
Okay.
Or Teku no Shiro o Morata no de Isekai de Tanoshiku Asobitai.
Isekai. I knew Isekai. Isekai was in there. He said Isekai.
You should know what Shiro is.
Shiro?
White.
which I'm looking at going, that must have something to do with Heavenly Castle. Tenku no Shiro must be Heavenly Castle.
Is it Tenku or Tenko?
Tenkuu.
Tenku.
Anyway, this is an adaptation originally written by Ino Mitsuru,
Big surprise.
who also wrote or is currently writing. I don't know if that's still coming out on the novel sites, but Easygoing Territory Defense by the Optimistic Lord. Production magic turns a nameless village into the strongest fortified city, which is obviously a ridiculous name. I really like that series.
Is that manga's genre tower defense?
Sort of. It's a lot of fun. But we're not talking about that one. We're talking about Heavenly Castle Isekai. Drawn by Matsuki. And for some reason, they have a second name on here. Matsuki To. I don't know why it needs the second one. Anyway. So this started coming out in 2019. And there's currently 43 chapters that I have read. I did find another place that has 51. I didn't even look to see if it was well translated in that spot.
Okay.
Wouldn't recommend looking other places.
Is the current spot you're at good or passable?
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I mean, none of them are on there are necessarily professional quality, but like there's obviously levels to scanlations.
There are. I remember of one you suggested before, Skip and Loafer.
Yeah.
Whoever was localizing it for the first like 30 some chapters or something, or maybe I don't remember the number now. It's been a year. Like was doing a really good job with it, and when they stopped doing it and somebody else picked it up, the quality shifted.
Yeah, unfortunately, that happens a lot.
Greatly.
But this one, the translation quality is just fine. There's not any kind of weird machine translation stuff.
I can dig it.
So I'll read you the description and then I'll explain a little bit, especially the exact reason why you should be reading this. An angel made a mistake, resulting in Shirahara Daki's death. In order to hide the mistake, he was sent to a different world. The angel will grant him one wish as payment for keeping it a secret. Daiki asked for a heavenly castle floating in the sky without hesitation. Suddenly, a floating castle appeared in the new world, which causes confusion amongst the people. They attempt to contact Daiki in various ways. A country tries to steal it by force, while another seeks to befriend him. What in the world would Daiki do? What would Daiki do?
Is he a child? Because I don't know if it's the name makes him sound like a child.
Is he Shigeru Miyamoto? Like, this sounds like a Mario level.
No, he is a fully grown adult, which is obviously...
So is Shigeru Miyamoto.
One of those things where, most isekai, it's teenagers. But no, he is an adult. Young adult. I think he's in his 20s, but travels to this fantasy world, gets a floating castle in the sky, which honestly, the floating castle part is the least fantastical part of his wish, because he also gets like a fleet of golem robot things that like are basically his own personal army.
Sounds like a Mario level.
Is this one of Bowser's flying pirate ships?
No.
Okay.
The castle has all this crazy technology stuff. It's actually marked as sci-fi. Although
castle?
I wouldn't call it sci-fi, but it has sci-fi elements to it.
Okay.
He has like a control room in the castle where he can monitor all kinds of stuff and like see remote things. He's got drones that he flies around at some point.
What the F?
And so he basically becomes a country unto himself. He rescues some people. Obviously, the first person he rescues is this girl, and she falls in love with him, and you know how that goes. But the very, very important thing is within a couple of the recent chapters, so, late 30s, early 40s, he has decided that he is going to dismantle the slavery system in this world.
Yo!
So the first girl that he meets is running away, and she has a slave mark. And she's a princess from a kingdom that has been taken over, right? And so she gets captured, marked as a slave. She happens to be able to escape. He rescues her right as she's about to be, captured again and potentially put to death for running away. And so he goes through this various these adventures where he's going around and finding out like, oh, all of these countries have these slave systems. They all have like distinct slave marks that are magical, and they all work in sort of different ways. And he's like upset at this from the beginning. But the real catalyst that sort of has set him in motion of like, I'm going to fix this world with all this power I have, is that this last country that he's gone to has a religion centered around slavery.
Oh my gosh.
They get slaves by saying like, this goddess that we worship will give you salvation if you voluntarily become a slave. And so the church in this country is like this huge, powerful organization because they have so many slaves. And not everyone in the kingdom is a slave, but this religion is centered around that. And he goes down there and finds all this, obviously a church that is centered around slavery has some shady shit going on.
Yep.
And it's pretty bad. And he gets pissed off and he's like, you know what? This is enough. I've been trying to figure out a way to get rid of these slave marks. I have now decided that I'm going to get rid of all of slavery.
I'm going to start a thesaurus. Okay, that's pretty based.
Well, start at the source. Religion.
Well, yeah. This is after he's already destroyed one of the kingdoms. Destroyed is probably too strong a word. He's overthrown the emperor. The emperor's son, who was like exiled or something, who wasn't good, has taken over now with his mom, who was actually cool, but she was being abused and all that. But this emperor who was there was like crazy. And so that was like a very clear, like, oh, we got to do something about this situation. There's a lot. It's not necessarily funny or anything. It does take itself seriously. But there's a lot of action adventure going on in there. And a lot of the interpersonal relationships are good. There is some comedy moments. A lot of it centers around, there's this one kingdom. Actually, I think it's like one of the only kingdoms that doesn't have slavery, who send an envoy who happened to be the prince and princess of this country.
Oh.
And they're sort of like an Arab nation kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's honestly, it's not treated poorly. Like it's fairly respectful. They're like very upright and like.
What's the comedy then?
They're like court magician guy. It goes crazy about the Heavenly Castle. He's trying to figure out everything possible. Mm-hmm. He's completely obsessed with it, and he's sort of like an idiot. So there's a lot of like comedy centered around that. But for the most part, it's sort of like interpersonal relationship stuff, not to like the level of like a Frieren or anything, but like
no, but there's some good moments to be had in there. It sounds like.
So overall, not a terribly heavy read, but just a good time, and then you get some catharsis in there of like, oh yeah, he's got all this power. Now he personally is not powerful, but he is the sole person who can control
this flying castle, which is the nation essentially.
Right. So yeah. Let's see here. One thing that I was surprised by, because as I was putting together my notes for this, I grabbed ratings and everything. This is a series that I really enjoy. I don't think it's bad in any way, but it's only rated 6.89. And I don't know why. Like, there are other things that are rated higher than that I read that are definitely worse than this.
I don't think most people who read this stuff want that story the way that we do.
Maybe
yeah.
the rest of the weebs are really against abolishing slavery.
Chuds, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a deal breaker for them. That's all I can say.
So,
color me intrigued. Can you say the name one more time?
I want to play happily in another world because I got a heavenly castle. Good time. Should definitely check it out. Next up, I have, this is a This is an isekai that is specifically for Ben.
Oh boy.
I think I actually recommended this to you before, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast. So,
See if I remember.
There's multiple layers to this for you.
Okay.
It's called Modern Villainess. It's not easy building a corporate empire before the crash.
Oh.
Gendai Shakai di Otomo game no Akuyaku Reijo wo Suru no wa Choto Taihen. Good luck with that. Anyway, so this was written. This is also an adaptation written by Futsukachi Tofuro and drawn by Data.
Data?
Yeah, well, we frown on that these days.
Oh.
This started in 2022. There's only 14 chapters out. I think what I saw was that the novel is on like volume 6 or something like that.
Okay.
So that's been going on for a while. I think the last cover I saw, she's an adult. But it starts off with this girl getting reincarnated into an Otomo game, but like way in the past. So the Otomo game takes place in like early 2000s or late 90s.
Oh, interesting.
And she gets reincarnated and as like the child, Villainess as a child,
who will grow up
in
to
like
be that
the
person.
early 90s. Oh, right. I'll read the description here for you. In the tough times after the Japanese economic bubble burst, a career woman suffering through the aftermath reincarnates as Keikan Runa, the villainess of an Otome game with a modern setting. However, not long after reincarnated, she realizes just how dire a situation her family is in due to the ongoing financial recession. Using knowledge from her previous life, Runa sets out to rescue her new family from crisis and stand against the tide of the times that caused her past life to end in misery.
That sounds neat.
So the really interesting thing about this is that it has so much actual Japanese economic history in it.
To
the point where there are entire pages where they just give you information like at the end of a chapter. So that
power gaming?
Yeah. No, for like, this is what the financial powers are called, and this is how the Japanese central bank interacts with the other banks out there. It's really, honestly, it's too much for me. I enjoy all the Isekai Otomo game stuff that goes around in there, but like there's a lot of information in here and it's really interesting. And for someone like Ben who's actually interested in that stuff, there's a lot going on here.
Sounds like somebody who had a lot of unpopular things they wanted to say.
Maybe.
And so they just made a manga.
So as there's only 14 chapters right now. So she's still, I think she just started first grade or something like that.
What's she gonna do?
Well, no, here's the thing. So her parents in the game died like shortly after she was born.
Okay.
And so she's being taken care of in like some house of the side family of the Keikan group.
Corporate, yeah. The Zaibatsu.
Yeah, Zaibatsu comes up all the time. And so she's got like just a butler and a maid or something like that. And then there's this other guy who comes in who's like some bank manager or something. And she sort of reveals how smart she is to these people. She never really tells them that, you know, she's reincarnated, but she reveals just how intelligent she is to just these few people. And then they go out and do business deals for her
stuff.
So by the time she's in kindergarten, she's really rich. She's been like purchasing assets and doing trading and all this stuff because she's got all this knowledge of the way the economy is going back in, I guess I forget what the exact time frame is, but I want to say early 90s.
Okay. Sounds neat.
She's like bailing out Hokkaido Bank and stuff like that, and so like she buys them to like get rid of their debt and like moving stuff around and everything. It's like I said, it's ridiculously complicated, but like it's all real stuff that's very interesting. Normal manga style kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy going on with the art. But
the concept's novel enough to me to overcome any of that.
There's so much interesting stuff going on. It might actually, for Ben, you might want to check out the novel instead. For me, I need the pictures. But I like the sort of abbreviated nature of the manga, which I say abbreviated. Like I said, there's still a lot of information in there, but I imagine that the novel goes into a lot more detail. So in one of the latest chapters, she has run into the male leads, the love interests that happen in the
future.
Because I think that's the game itself doesn't take place until they're in like high school or something. So right now they're in like first grade, and she's met these 3 boys, and she's like, "Oh, I'm actually having a good time with them, even though in the future they would be condemning me."
She's the
villainess, yeah. So not a whole lot to go into here because you have like the standard villainous otome isekai stuff going on, but you have this layer of like Japanese history and economics and everything on top of there that just sort of like it makes it more
think about
interesting.
The Japanese debt reaching 9 trillion.
Well, maybe you should read it and find out.
I'm going to read it. Say the name one more time.
Modern Villainess. It's not easy building a corporate empire before the crash.
Okay.
I mean, it was easy building one before the crash. It was just after the crash.
You know what? Now thinking about it, I know Lass of the Red Rose is listening to this. I think Lass of the Red Rose would really like this one.
An isekai wherein you reincarnate from before the bubble burst.
I tell you what, invest in Samsung.
And then you just use your knowledge of after that to make sure the bubble never bursts.
Well,
I wouldn't
you
stop
say
the
that
bubble from bursting. You just keep yourself good.
No, but she's sort of doing
assets.
that.
She's keeping from the second. She's keeping it from the second crash.
The like rescuing Hokkaido Bank, and like through a proxy, she's making deals with like the central bank and stuff like that, and like figuring out how like the loans need to happen and everything. It's I read it and I go, man, if I reincarnated as a child, I wouldn't know step 1 of what to do in these situations. Like
invest in this company that I know that just barely exists now. That's going to get really big.
Yeah, I would invest in Apple.
I know
and
Apple's
Google
always the go for,
and Microsoft and Nvidia, and that would be it. I would be like, well, that's all I can do. That's what I know.
That would be enough, honestly.
Well, yeah, but it would be
somebody smarter than you. Tell them what's going to happen, or like find a financial planner and just be like, okay, let's assume I have a belief that the world is going to come to an end in this way. How would you set me up for that? And then that could be your romantic interest. It writes itself.
Yeah.
Boom.
So this had a bunch of tags on it, but the main one that stood out and the one I think that was important is the drama tag. There's some funny bits in it here and there, and there's some. I think there's going to be romance in the future. There's not now, obviously.
Yeah,
she's like
children.
6 or 7 or whatever. So obviously there shouldn't be. But it's an otome game.
It's common. Yeah.
And currently rated 8.14. So the current scan leader who's working on it is like obsessed and has like so much information dump that they put in there. It's sort of fascinating.
Yes.
Good stuff. I think they're Swedish.
Oh. I'll take it.
But yeah, so check that out. All right, so last one for you here. And this one I'm gonna turn some stuff on its head here.
Oh.
So
my God.
this is called I Picked Up This World's Strategy Guide,
Huh.
or Kono Sekai no Koryo Kuhon wo Hirote wo
Shwo.
Shima Imashita.
Prima strategy guide.
This one is not an adaptation. Written and drawn by Atchi Ai.
Cool.
And I did say that right. ATCHI. This only started in 2023.
Still fairly recent.
There's currently only 12 chapters out.
Very doable.
This is a weird isekai because the only thing that is isekai'd here is a book.
So the person who gets the book.
Sana, the daughter of an item shop in a corner of the castle town, went out to the forest to pick medicinal herbs as usual in order to make recovery potions for the store's products. There, Sana picks up her mysterious book. Because she read the strategy book, the daughter of the item shop, who shouldn't have anything to do with the story, is greatly involved in the story of the game. Another world, romantic comedy, adventure, fantasy.
I love the idea that a story is occurring that the person who finds it isn't a part of, but then is instantly like, because they get to learn about the story that is happening, just show up in these moments and be like, man, this is really compelling.
Yeah, so honestly, it's not too far in at this point. Like I said, 12 chapters, but I want so much more of this all the time. It is the most interesting isekai that I have read in such a long, that I've started in such a long time. It starts out, so she picks up this book and reads it and goes, wait a minute, this is describing all this stuff, but it happens in the future. Like, what is going on here? And she reads through it some more and finds a passage about her brother who died. And so using that knowledge, she's able to save him, which obviously changes things.
Yeah.
But there's this weird thing where things still occur in ways that the strategy guide has already laid out, even with her making changes to the world. Like later on, she goes and finds the hero, and he's got this whole backstory that she sort of screws up, but he's still able to sort of go down the path that he needs to because of another way that she's intervened. It's all endlessly fascinating.
Very Oingo Boingo Brothers of you.
But also, like, it's cute and endearing. She's a little cutie pie.
Yeah.
She's only like, what, 14,
the fact that it's not just like here's this young upstart who's now going to become the hero, because like the fact that like that's playing out and she's just sort of on the periphery.
Yeah.
I love that specifically, like, there's something about it being a strategy guide, not just like, here's a book of the future.
Yeah.
Like, that it's just the fact that it just makes it so much more fun and
funny.
Do the
kids still use strategy guides?
You got to Google. They're wikis now. You just Google for it.
Yeah, it's on the internet now.
They've outed themselves as an old person.
Yeah,
writing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm having nostalgia for it.
One thing to point out with this, and I don't understand how this works, but it's all colored.
Whoa.
It's in color.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's it releasing? I'm assuming this is the
Yeah.
That's impressive.
In the place. I have to assume that the mangaka is coloring it.
Wow. Yeah, because who would be coloring this? Not just barely starting series, 12 chapters.
But it's like it's a normal manga style, but it's in color and well colored, not like that weird kind of like
coloration
fan color that you get sometimes where you're like
webtoon or
no.
How much does it? Do you know how much it releases?
No,
not yet. You're getting it at the rate that whoever's been translating.
I don't think there's much more in Japanese than the 12 chapters. I think it's a once a month thing. Like I said, it started in 2023.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Once a month for 12 chapters, that would make sense. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a part where there's this prince who is a major part of the story, and like he's sort of a dick and everything, and he comes to this town, and he's going to be interacting with this town in a way that later on will be a part of the story, because I don't want to spoil things, but he did something bad. And so she gets herself into a situation where she's going to be a dancer at the bar that he's going to, where the bad thing happens, that he like gets this bar shut down and stuff. And as she's up there doing that, he starts to sort of make a fuss and everything. And she's like, I'm a fortune teller. Let me tell your fortune. And starts rattling off this information from the strategy guide about the prince of like, he likes, what was it? I don't think this was right, but it's like, he likes bananas or something like that. And so she like acts like she's a fortune teller with this. And he like is completely taken aback, except now he's obsessed with her and he keeps trying to find her. The hero that she meets is also, he's a little cutie too, because he's very young at the start of this. This is before the game actually starts. And so there's like, she's like getting in his backstory and all that stuff. And there's stuff with him about like, he's got red eyes and the villagers are scared of him. But then like the village gets attacked and he saves them by like going into beast mode or something.
Curious.
And they're still scared of him, even though he saved them. And so he has to like leave the village and everything. But she screwed with that because she gave him potions that he wasn't supposed to have, which were like really good because she's got the strategy guide that lets her make the best potions. And so when the village gets attacked, he takes these potions and is able to just defeat everything. And so all the villagers love him now instead. But he's still like, I have to go out and become stronger. So he leaves anyway.
Okay, no more. You've said 12 chapters. Yeah. I've been given well enough to sate my palate.
It's a lot of fun.
Curious.
So I think
I'll be reading this sometime.
And especially at 12 chapters, it's so easy to get into.
Very easy.
So I think
translation's okay.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent translation. Cool. You wouldn't know that it wasn't official.
Cool.
So
okay.
So yeah. So there's those three.
Say it one more time.
That is, I picked up This World's Strategy Guide. Or, I picked up This World's Strategy Guide. Because there's an exclamation point at the end.
Nice.
But yeah, those are the three isekai recommendations.
I picked up This World's Strategy Guide. It's called the Bible.
I think the only place it tells the future in there is Revelations, and that's
get right
no
with Jesus. He's
good. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoys those. Jump on our Discord and let me know if you read them. All right, well, to round out our recommendations for today, it's time for
the Attack of the Manga Book Club. Mac of the Manga Book Club.
So today we're going to be talking about something that you might have heard us talk about before. We did an episode of Shonen Jumping the Gun on this.
Wow.
Back when it first came out, which honestly was a while ago. And the fact that there's only 9 chapters right now.
I thought it was 7, yeah.
We're talking about Astro Baby.
Astro Baby!
Astro Baby.
Of all the various Astro things that came out, it's my favorite.
It's Baby.
By Shiro Moria. I don't... was there something else that they made that was...
Cage Soloist, something like that? Nothing we've ever read or talked about, but I know they're known for that stuff.
Maxi B was all about this.
I mean, so were we, admittedly.
Yes. I definitely think this is...
From chapter 1, that was all we had at the time to speak our thoughts.
Yeah, this is one of the best new series that there is, like, far and away. There's, like, a group of, like, 3 or 4 really good new series that started in the last, 6 months or so. And most of those are going to die because Japanese teens are dumb. But this one is not in the magazine.
Yes, and also it's the best.
And so it gets to keep living, even though it only comes out every other week.
Yep, on Fridays.
On
I
Friday.
was going to ask about it being in the magazine because it is like a lot for the magazine.
They don't care about how long chapters are, which they're not overly long, but they're also not like, this can only be 10 pages or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're unbound by physical media. Ben, what are your thoughts? We've had an entire episode where Brad and I talked about, at least for the first chapter.
I do have a very short description here.
Oh, yeah, I guess for people that didn't listen to that and don't know what Astro Baby is, if you haven't read it.
The remote town of North Hill has been quarantined to prevent the spread of the mysterious Cooper disease that is turning people into cannibals. Young soldier Billy returns to his hometown for the first time in 6 years for the woman he loves. But what horrors will await him?
I mean, yes, correct, but not the vibe at all.
Oh, sort of.
I don't know how you would even capture the vibe to describe to people.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like Chainsaw Man, but from like an editorial publisher point of view, it's enough like Chainsaw Man that's probably why it exists, or that's probably why this got chosen.
I can see that.
Maybe.
Like it's a quirky horror thing.
I would say that it's more, I don't know if more quirky, but definitely funnier than Chainsaw Man.
It's very Golden Kamuy in that it juggles serious horror moments with like really goofy, lighthearted comedy moments, and it just somehow dances that knife edge of both of those without feeling like one insults the other.
Yeah, like I don't mean to imply that it's like a Chainsaw Man ripoff. It's not. It's very much its own thing. But it feels like maybe somebody was trying to be like, oh well, the people like, maybe it's the age of quirky horror. I don't know. Maybe that's the new thing.
I'm here for it.
I gotta say, the first chapter, I think I said it to you guys to see what you thought because you were the Shonen Jumping the Gun guys. I was on the fence about it because the first chapter, to be honest, it was gross. It kind of grossed me out.
It continues to be gross here and there.
Yes. And also be like genuinely really funny.
Yeah,
and also
I think
genuinely really moving at moments.
I think that's
strange.
The key is that it never wallows in any one of those. It moves on. It always moves on.
There was a lot more umbilical cord than I was prepared to deal with.
Or baby piss.
I read it. Yeah, you know what? It was really the umbilical cord, still attached, still. Weird.
That's interesting. I didn't really even think about that a whole
lot.
Plot
relevant baby piss.
I am the only father in this group. So.
Yeah. Childbirth is a disgusting miracle. But I gotta say, it evened out into more like, had it kept that up, I don't know if I would have been into it.
I do think the first chapter sort of went more heavy into the drama horror stuff.
Yeah.
All the subsequent chapters have had a really good balance. Like something terrible will happen, and then something funny will happen, and then something dramatic will happen, and then something funny will happen. It plays back and forth very well.
I mean, there's only 9 chapters, so I want to we need to tell people what it is without telling them because there's not enough to experience.
So I'd say like the thing you need to know, zombie story, very good art, lot of humor, but it's also got like a weird alien parasite kind of angle.
The zombies are alien parasites.
They are parasites. Yeah. They do not. They don't spread like a virus. They literally jump from host to host. They do not spread from host. There is a set number of them.
And
to our current understanding,
it really revolves completely around the fact that one of these aliens, which is newly arrived, gets inside of a baby, and then our protagonist is like helping this baby because this baby's like, I'm going to defeat the rest of these
and it's
things.
also the child of the woman he loves, but it's not his child. Read chapter 1. Just read Astro Baby. Just read Astro Baby.
But again, it's Well, to tie it into Bomba, it's another
The
one of
first
those,
3 chapters are free.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's another one. It's a Bomba situation where the guy was in love with his teacher or whatever, right?
Not
His
no.
babysitter.
His babysitter, something like that. An adult woman.
Yeah.
She was not. No. She was a teenager when they met. She was assisting one of the scientists. By the time he's older and goes to the army,
He's back from soldier training.
she had married that scientist, which is weird and creepy. And then he leaves. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So
That's all in the first chapter.
Yeah.
You should definitely just at least read the first chapter.
Yeah, again.
And then read the
first
second one. Because
chapter-
like Ben said, the first chapter is way more gross than the subsequent chapters.
Yeah, the first chapter gave me some concern. The subsequent chapters, they seem to have evened out quite a bit. But there's also that flavor of like edgy, like Japanese horror that there hasn't been a lot of in a while.
Yeah.
Like Japanese horror is famous for being weird and over the top. And this is definitely like weird and over the top
Yes.
in a way that like Japanese horror movies are.
Mm.
So I like it for that. And like I said, the art's really good. The baby stuff is really weird, and I think it gives it some longevity because there's kind of like they've got a quest. There's a purpose to it. It's not just bleak. It's not The Walking Dead.
Yeah, but it's still strange and like
Yeah.
this is going to be a tough fight, but like it's still I just need to attempt to get across like one of my favorite early jokes is that like this other higher life form is now living in the baby and the baby speaks like a very learned adult. And I don't remember the reasoning why, but the Billy picks up the baby and like holds him up. And he reacts like a little baby, and he's just excited to be in the air, so he just makes this really excited face, and then he pulls him back down, and the baby goes back to his, like, serious adult face, and he's like, please don't do that, I did not like that, and then Billy lifts him back up, and the baby makes this really, excited face, and it's the funniest shit.
Yeah.
Because it admits this, like, terrible, horrible thing of what's happened to the mother and all this, and it's just, we talk so much about it, Brad, especially you, of, like, things not understanding their own tone and messing up their serious moments with comedy, and this just doesn't have that problem, but it still just does some of the funniest shit.
It really balances it so well because you will get funny moments punctuating these so serious, horrific things.
Bleak moments.
And in other places where we've seen that occur, it's screwed up. It doesn't work. It's not funny because of what's going on. But somehow this mangaka is making it work.
It's the funniest stuff.
Full
And it's
Metal
moving.
Alchemist.
It needs to be more. I've yelled at a friend of the podcast, Vizlaman, and literally sent him with a link to this because he asked for a link. I said, read this, you shit. Because I was just like, why are you not reading Astro Baby? It's literally the best manga right now.
I sort of hope that everybody's already reading it because of our Shonen Jumping the Gun episode.
Yeah.
But as there's more chapters now, it's been 2-3 months,
If
something
the
like that.
3 free chapters don't speak to you, don't speak to me.
But we wanted to make sure that people understand, like, this is definitely something to check out.
Yes.
It has lived up to the hype that we had in chapter 1.
Yes, it lived up to my comedy rating. If you didn't listen to the episode, I have this big feelings chart, and I made comedy rankings at the top and the bottom that I thought we'll never use these. But it hit at the maximum emotion good section of, if anything happens to this manga, I'm going to kill everybody on this Discord and then myself. And you know what? I still hold by that. I continue to love Astro Baby. It brings me delight every other week when it comes out.
I'd add the caveat that it is still a horror manga. I mean, it is still like bloody. Like it's a grubby manga. So if you're not into that, it's not going to make you into that.
I gotta say though, like, I'm not someone who
My
enjoys.
caveat: you can still talk to me if you're kind of squeamish about it. That's okay. That's acceptable.
I'm not someone who enjoys horror. Like the Junji Ito stuff that I've read, I don't want to read more. Horror movies and that stuff, like those things that you're into, Ben. Like I'm not down with that. I really liked Tucker and Dale versus the Forces of Evil.
This gives me Edgar Wright vibes too.
Where it's like you can feed me horror if it's like half of the dish, and the other half makes me go.
If there's
Yeah,
some relief,
exactly.
some relief from the tension.
Right.
Horror and comedy are closely related because they are all about tension and payoff.
Yeah. And this is one of those ones they just do it so well, and it's one of those things where I have a very small target in this sort of space, and Astro Baby bullseye directly.
I don't want to spoil what it is. It's not even plot important, but a really, really funny thing just happened at the end of the last chapter that came out, the latest chapter at time of recording. That was the most just like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And just
I've found it
art hilarious. Art also designs great. Love the art style, like different. There's in chapter 1 we talked about in the episode, but like there's this weird like 1940s BioShock cartoony style for like their like pictograph stuff.
The news broadcast,
the news broadcaster. Like I love it. It's so cool.
Which hasn't come back, by the way. That was
there's like an ad somewhere that has that style. I swear I saw it again.
It was so specifically like this is a completely different style.
Yes.
Because they're obviously trying to differentiate this cartoon in the world versus the actual world that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
The coolest looking old man, the most Master Roshi old man I've seen in a while, and I say that like endearingly. I don't think he's a terrible pervert, but we haven't known him long enough to know for sure, but I doubt it.
He seems cool.
He seems rad, like genuinely like 80s, 90s wear the sunglasses, rad. But yeah.
You didn't have any follow-up for that?
What?
For Grandpa?
What about Grandpa?
He's cool.
He's cool. I said that.
But like, that was it? You didn't have more to say?
No, I just said he was radical and a funny thing happened with him. You got to read it. You got to know. There's only 9 chapters. I can't reveal any more secrets to you. You have to read it. I would not want to ruin it for you.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's any other key moments that are like, we should probably describe this. Because not every single chapter has something super important happen, but each one
really fun
moves things along either through the exposition of like how these things are working, or how Billy's relationships with the various people around.
Even just Billy's the dynamic between Billy and the baby is like top marks.
And it's really there is a lot of comedy in the fact that like you have this alien intelligence that is obviously knows a lot of stuff and is very powerful, and it's just inside this baby.
Yep.
So you have this baby saying these big philosophical things and like saying things like, I'm going to destroy them all.
I'm the superior genetic strain and stuff like that.
Change my diaper.
Yeah, and also I'm a tiny baby and I'm tired.
Yeah. The comedy hasn't made me laugh out loud yet, but I do think it serves to break up the tension because the horror is legit.
Yes.
It's good horror manga. It's a good horror manga. And there haven't been a lot of great horror manga that aren't Junji Ito. So if anything, I support it just for that. But no, I think it has potential. The alien parasite stuff, there used to be a lot of that. And the only one that's ever done it well is the Parasite.
I know Tokyo Ghoul that Brad and I maybe will read because we have it physically is like
it's not Parasite.
It's not parasites, but it's akin to that
more
weird,
like vampirism.
Yeah.
The way that the parasite works is interesting because at first you're looking at it, and if you're familiar with Parasite, the series, you might go, "Oh, they're going to do this parasite thing," but it's not like that at all.
It's not like that yet. I think we're still figuring stuff out, but I think it seems like it's doing its own thing.
They don't. I mean, there's like accelerated healing that it gives you and stuff like that, but it's mostly just it takes over the person, and then they're stronger than the average person. And in most of the cases, they're just going about living their lives pretending to be humans, based on like the memories and stuff of the people that they've taken over, in order to like infiltrate different places until they can get to a point where they can spread it.
Are you talking about Parasite or are you talking about Astro Baby? Because a lot of that sounded exactly like
I?
what exactly.
What am I talking about?
Yeah. Point made.
So, but as opposed to Parasite, where they have like body transformations of like, knives and shit that come out of their bodies, they're still, in Astro Baby,
they're possible. I would say currently that's how it is, but like I feel like the canvas is still very open.
Yeah.
You only have 9 chapters, and things are only starting to really pop off with an adversary at the moment. So,
I wonder, do you guys? So with Shonen Jump and the gun type stuff, do you guys hope for it to go for like as long as possible?
We want it to go.
I mean, that one in particular, I want to live until it naturally ends.
Yeah, we want it to tell its full story.
Like I feel like I want 10 volumes tops of this.
I don't know. I mean, you have to get to a point where you're like, I don't even think this mangaka is going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like Parasite itself is 8 volumes. So like, I think when you have a horror story, because like you're saying, it's about balancing tension. There does come a point where it just becomes a superhero story, like a dark superhero story.
Yeah.
So in order for it to keep I think tension peaks after a certain amount. Like a long, really epically long horror does not exist.
Yeah.
If you keep moving the goalposts, it's just exhausting.
Now that said, these chapters are longer, but not a ton of stuff is actually happening in them. There's a lot of just like really good art that just takes
character
up
moments,
pages.
Setting building. Yeah.
So we haven't
wasted
in these 9 chapters. We've got a bunch of exposition, and we know a lot about, sort of the greater thing that's going on. But like we didn't go anywhere yet. We're just like at this place he went to try and hide out.
Destination, and things are popping
that's
off
it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 9 chapters is 9 chapters. So
there's definitely some series, especially some Shonen Jump series, that like they go all in right away and they rush to whatever the bigger conflict is, and then you get to a point where you see that it's going to go for a while, and they suddenly have to like draw things back and be like, "Oh no, wait." This is not doing that. This is definitely going. We're going to go for a while. We have a story to tell. So yeah, I mean, with 9 chapters, it's hard to tell, but so far, I would say that I'm leaning towards trusting this mangaka, that they're going to tell their story and then it'll be over.
Yep. Agreed.
So go read Astro Baby.
Astro Baby.
It's on Viz.
Go read Astro Baby, you shits.
Which app is it on?
It's on
Shonen Jump.
Okay.
I believe it is also on Manga Plus, if that's your thing, where you could read it all for free, as long as you don't have to reread a chapter.
This is always a weird thing for me because
about Manga Plus.
I read mostly online. So on the Viz website, everything is on there. But if you use the apps, there's 2 separate apps. There's the Shonen Jump app and there's the Viz app.
I don't mess with the web.
There's 2 apps, and some of them are web only. And
Yep.
Yes, Astro Baby.
Don to Don, web only on the Shonen Jump app. Don to Don, not web only on the Manga Plus app. Very strange.
I think it's how they tag themselves in the app store.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's only like Freerin is on Viz.
Yes, correct.
Along with Komi, but everything else is on Shonen Jump
or Jump Plus.
Yeah.
But it is also like it is strange to me that Red Cat Ramen, which is a Manga Plus series, is a Jump Plus series, not on the Shonen Jump app, only on Manga Plus. Very strange.
Tokyo these days is on Viz. That was my recommendation.
Correct.
It's not on Shonen Jump. It is on Viz.
Not in Jump or Jump Plus.
But you can get the Shonen Jump app and the Viz app for $5
a month
between the 2 of them.
Yep.
Totally worth it.
Worth it.
Go listen to all of the episodes where we've talked about that over and over again.
Or the panel, my Shonen Jump panel, that I also talked about that if you need a visual representation while it's being spoken about.
Yeah, it's better than Amazon for now.
I think it's always going to be better than Amazon.
Sure hopes, you never know.
Till they're acquired by Amazon.
Capitalism works in mysterious ways.
That's a
derogatory.
We'll talk about that later. Stay tuned in June for a lot of fun. Well, thank you for listening to That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster. That has been Reviewstravaganza 3. Here's hoping we make it to 4.
He's crossed.
Tell your friends. If we get really big, then we have to keep doing it.
Tell your
We're
enemies.
obligated to. And apparently Ben's still got a big old list, so he's got more for next time.
I've been reading manga. I went down to the secondhand store.
Oh my god!
I went down to the secondhand store. I sold like almost all of my manga. I just sold everything, and I've like started afresh.
Yeah,
Nice.
Just everything from my childhood is gone, except for like a few.
It's a new chapter in your life.
It's a new day. It's
Yeah.
a new dawn.
It's a new tankobon in your life.
It's a brand new attitude, but you still gotta read them all.
Well, you can find all of our social media links like Discord, Patreon, and everything else on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can also find articles on various topics as well as new manga reviews. And I was going to take that line out, but then Ben started posting there again.
Manga
so now I
reviews,
have to
there you
leave it
go.
in. And we'd love to hear from you on any of those social platforms, or you can leave a comment right on the site. You can even just send us an email to isekaisensei-sama@gmail.com, which people have done, and I appreciate that. No one's done that in quite a while,
I was going
though.
to say, yeah.
We're always looking for feedback, and we'd love to chat with you about the topics that we cover. And if you prefer to listen to our podcast in high-quality stereo, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, where we simul-release all of our episodes. There are 2 versions of the podcast that go up at the same time. The colorful green one is the stereo version. So make
The
sure to
waveform
check
you
that one
said.
out.
The one with the waveform.
Yeah. Also, you should be able to just hear it. I don't know if maybe people are listening on like terrible speakers or something, but if you just listen on normal stereo
Voice is
speakers, you
voice.
can tell the difference.
They say when you edit, you should target the worst car speakers you can find, because that's what most of the people are going to listen on.
We also released that high quality stereo version early on Patreon. So if you can't wait, you can join us on there and listen as soon as the episodes are done being edited. And in addition to getting the episodes early, all of our tiers get bonus episodes, as well as getting to vote on the next series of that we cover on heroin addiction.
I think there's some good bonus episode stuff in there.
And our patrons get a shout out. We've got all kinds of perks up there, but we want to know what perks people might want. So let us know. And so now it is time for our patron shout outs. And as has become tradition,
This is a tradition.
I've got some German to butcher here.
Uh-oh.
So
Brace yourself.
at our reincarnator tier, we have Moon, who's a friend of the podcast, has been a guest on multiple episodes, and is a moderator on the r/Otomi Isekai subreddit. And our other patron and friend, Cake Dwarf. Here we go. Ich habe dieses Deutsch unterprüft und finde es akzeptabel.
Liebe Kinder, gebt fein Acht. I can only speak in Rammstein lyrics.
Well, at our merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but not least, at our commoner tier, we've got Rena. So thanks so much to all our patrons.
Yes, thank you, patrons.
We really appreciate it. And before we go, we want to thank Sugoi Mart. Don't forget you can get 15% off your order by using the link in the description or using code APR15 at checkout. Ben, you got anything fun going on with Words About Books?
Fun, maybe. What have we done? What will we be doing when this comes out? When does this episode come out?
In like 3 days.
3 days. Okay. More talking about Tolkien. We're getting towards the end of The Hobbit. Only a few more of those left. And then
Lord of the Rings is going to take years, though.
Lord of the Rings will probably take years, unless people stop listening. Then I'll stop doing it. It's kind of been. There's going to be a weird gap episode coming out next, judging books by their cover, where we judge books by their cover. It's exactly what it sounds like. But in between that, I explained what the hell was happening in Mona Lisa Overdrive, and we will be covering Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Nice.
So it's kind of a cyberpunk month over there on Words About Books. So if you like cyberpunk, and
Then you should probably read it instead of listening to Words About Books.
You definitely, if you're going to listen to Mona Lisa Overdrive, you better have read Neuromancer and Count Zero.
Mona Lisa Overdrive.
I listened to it, and I haven't read either of those.
Did you follow anything that was going on?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's deep.
Well, definitely check out Words About Books and get subscribed to the Patreon so you can get the Lord of the Rings talking about Tolkien episodes early, except for when Ben doesn't do them in time and puts them out like 2 hours before the actual feed.
Or sometimes not at all, but that was Nate's fault.
Well, thanks again for listening. And should you find yourself enjoying a strange new world, be sure to leave a review.
Lady who checked me out at the doctor's office said that the Pope is announcing that there's aliens.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pope's trying to be relevant.
I looked it up, and he did hold a conference on supernatural phenomena.
He's trying.
She also told me to watch out for human traffickers. And I said, I don't think I'm who they go for. And she's like, it doesn't matter. She goes, what is she saying?
They want your
She's
meat.
She's like, sweetie, it doesn't matter. They go for anyone.
I'm really happy having this woman working in the medical profession
just
for my help.
Receptionist, right? Not a nurse.
This was a receptionist. Yeah, no.
Okay, good.
Honestly,
I know there's some nurses like that.
I called my wife. I was like, that's the interaction I needed to have today. If I could start every day by just meeting an energetic conspiracy theorist who's like...
The conspiracy theorists that care about you, I'm all right with.
Yeah. That's what
I don't know. It always makes me. I ran into one of those when I went to the dentist. I was wearing my Gravity Falls shirt that has like the big, bills on it. So it's got the big pyramid and like all talking about mysteries. And this large man who worked there was like, "Oh yeah, I like your shirt. Where'd you get it?" And I'm like, "Oh, he likes Gravity Falls." And he's like, "Oh yeah, the Illuminati and all that." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, I'm in danger. Don't know." And this was like a big like Chad dude. And I was just like, no, don't pay attention to me. I'm sure you're very nice. Just leave me alone. I mean, he was admittedly nice, but it was just the most just like, oh gosh, no.
Ben, I'm not kidding. Like, you've had apple pie, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how apple pie filling has like the pieces of apple, and then there's like the cinnamon sort of syrup that's around it?
Mm-hmm.
This tastes exactly like that.
I'm not getting as much as Brad is getting it, but I catch hints of it. As someone who's made a lot of apple pies and has been eating an apple cobbler for the last week.
That's amazing.
It's pretty good, though. Pack in a lot of...
The Konbini has the best food scientists there are.
I told you, Konbini.
What is that again?
Convenience
store.
Oh... This is the second time I've been gotten by that. Because I always think you're talking about, what is it, Kobeni from Chainsaw Man?
Kobeni, yeah.
Kobeni. And I'm like, what does she have to do with this? And the answer is nothing.
Astro Baby. It's fucking weird. Read it.
Do you think he's dead or just that he cracked his back?
The grandpa?
Yeah.
He's not dead.
Okay.
I don't think he's dead.
He saw Jesus. He saw Rasta Man, whose name I don't know. He saw the Zoroastrian guy.
He saw Zoroaster?
Whatever, I don't know. He saw all of them. They were all up there, all the warriors.